Chapter 96. How arrogant! Hearing Xiao Feng's words, the first elder snorted. Such an arrogant person, provoking discord among the clan's disciples. He should be punished severely. Competition and mutual promotion, how can there be discord? The first elder is exaggerating. Xiao Zhan chuckled and turned his head to look at the first elder. He continued, besides, didn't the first elder suspect him of cheating? Wasn't he just trying to prove his strength? He can't cheat in a real battle, right? Speaking up to hear, Xiao Zhan looked at Xiao Feng, who was standing upright below the stage. His eyes flashed with a trace of splendor as he praised inwardly, "This Xiao Feng is calm and composed. He's a talent that can be molded." Xiao Feng's words, "Fight if you're not convinced," made the hearts of the clan's disciples tremble. Saying "fight if you're not convinced" during the clan's coming-of-age test was unprecedented. For a moment, the Xiao clan's disciples looked at each other. They were eager to give it a try, but worried that the patriarch wouldn't allow it. They didn't know what to do. "This matter, I will allow it." Xiao Feng wanted to prove himself, so Xiao Zhan naturally wanted to give him the opportunity. Xiao Zhan stood on the stage and glanced at the crowd below. He said loudly, "In the coming-of-age test, this rule will be added. If anyone is not convinced with the results of others, they can issue a challenge." "I'm not convinced. I want to challenge." As soon as Xiao Zhan's voice fell, Xiao Ning, who had long since lost his patience, immediately jumped out. In Xiao Ning's eyes, Xiao Feng was just a piece of trash. Xiao Ning was someone that he could step on to show off his superiority. Xiao Ning never thought that Xiao Feng would be able to break through. He didn't believe that Xiao Feng could reach 8 Duanji power. Since the patriarch allowed the challenge, how could Xiao Ning resist? He quickly challenged Xiao Feng. "Xiao Feng, you piece of trash. I will make you show your true colors." Xiao Feng took a few steps forward and stood in front of Xiao Feng. He pointed his finger at Xiao Feng and shouted, "Xiao Feng, I want you to know that true strength is not obtained by cheating. If you want to fight, then fight. Why do you have so much to say?" Xiao Feng was slightly surprised. He crooked his finger at Xiao Ning. "Come on. I'll destroy you in one move." "Bastard!" Xiao Ning was obviously angered by Xiao Feng's contemptuous actions. With an angry roar, Xiao Ning's feet moved, and his palm was like a knife, chopping towards Xiao Feng's head. This was the mountain-splitting palm, a middle yellow rank battle skill. It requires one to be at least 5 Duan Dozi to learn it. Below the warrior realm, there weren't many Do techniques that could be used in battle. After all, at this stage, the most important thing was to lay a good foundation and advance to the Doja realm as soon as possible. Therefore, the fighting techniques at this stage were very simple and direct. Every move was a pure burst of fighting aura, a head-on battle style. Xiao Ning's palm was filled with anger, completely exploding his 7th Duan Dozi. His palm chopped out, and a whistling sound broke through the air. The strong wind blew against Xiao Feng's face, causing his hair to flutter. However, Xiao Feng's face didn't change in the slightest. There was no surprise, no nervousness, and no panic. Facing the incoming palm, Xiao Feng's face was as calm as still water. He softly spat out a few words. "You're only SOSO." In an instant, Xiao Feng moved. His right hand formed a fist, and gathered strength at his waist. A faint glow of Do Qi appeared on his fist, as if his entire arm was covered in a layer of faint fluorescent light. His feet stepped forward, and in a flash, his right fist rushed out from his waist. It was like an angry dragon escaping from its shackles. Boom! A heavy explosion sounded. Like an angry dragon, the heavy fist carried with it the determination to break free from its shackles and destroy everything in its path. The huge force directly dispersed Desolate Ning's mountain-splitting palm, and the remaining force landed heavily on Desolate Ning's chest. Desolate Ning let out a blood-curdling scream as he was sent flying a few feet away by this punch. He landed heavily on the ground. How is this possible? He was actually defeated in one move? Seeing Xiao Feng defeat Xiao Ning in one move, the entire training field was in an uproar. Everyone looked at each other, unable to believe what they had just seen. Looking up at the proud figure standing in front of them, the hearts of the Xiao clan's disciples were in turmoil. They could say that he had cheated in the test, but the fact that he had defeated Xiao Ning, a 7th Duan Dozi, in one move was enough to prove his strength. Xiao Feng really was an 8th Duan Dozi. This was unbelievable, but they couldn't help but believe it. Bastard! You actually used such a heavy hand? Seeing Xiao Feng send Xiao Ning flying with one move, how could the first elder sit still? With a furious roar, the great elder leaped down from the high platform and waved his hand to slap Xiao Feng. Stop! The patriarch, Xiao Zhan, was shocked and angry at the same time. He hurriedly jumped up, but it was too late to stop the first elder. The first elder's palm shot out and the wind surged. The Do Chi exploded, and the monstrous power was like Mount Tai. The first elder had the strength of a Dosher. How terrifying was his attack! No one believed that Xiao Feng would be able to survive this palm strike. With Xiao Feng's 8th Duan Dozi strength, facing a Dosher's attack, he had no way of resisting. It was impossible for him to escape with his life. First elder, you deserve to die. Xiao Zhan's heart was filled with anger and hatred. The roar of a lion appeared above his head, and a violent force gathered in his hand. The first elder had gone too far. Xiao Feng, such a good seedling, had been defeated by him. How could Xiao Zhan tolerate this? Huh! Just as Xiao Zhan was about to attack the first elder, he suddenly realized that there was a change in the situation. When the great elder's palm came crashing down, Xiao Feng's face was still as calm as ever. It was as if this sudden and shocking attack couldn't make him panic in the slightest. As if he had a card up his sleeve, and as if he had been prepared, when the first elder's palm was about to hit him, when the first elder had used up all his strength and could no longer change his attack, Xiao Feng moved. Squatting down, he hugged his head, and with a kick of his feet, Xiao Feng rolled out like a gourd. This time, Xiao Feng's dodge, whether it was the timing, direction, or speed, was just right. It was as if he had practiced it countless times. In reality, this was also the case. In the great illusionary land, Xiao Feng had fought with almost everyone in the family. Especially the few Dosher experts, Xiao Feng had fought with each of them dozens of times. Although each time ended in failure, in terms of experience, Xiao Feng was already very experienced. Boom! The first elder's palm came down heavily, and the violent tremor caused the entire training ground to shake. The strength of a Dosher caused all the family members in the training ground to tremble in fear. However, this palm hit empty air. The flying dust covered Xiao Feng's body, and he looked very embarrassed. However, at this moment, no one cared whether he was embarrassed or not. Instead, they were shocked that he was able to dodge the first elder's attack. Good boy! Xiao Zhan praised in his heart. In a flash, he stood in front of Xiao Feng, and the furious lion let out a roar that shook the sky. First elder, how dare you! A dazzling golden light suddenly exploded as Xiao Zhan angrily punched out. The golden light flashed and the lion roared. A golden light turned into a roaring lion, and it crashed towards the first elder. Boom! A huge shock wave surged. The first elder groaned and flew far away. Chapter 97. Help? Humph! Do you really think I'm a hot-blooded teenager? You want me to work for you just by winking at me? Liu disdainfully curled his lips. How could Liu not see through Yafei's plan? Although he still looks like a teenager, he was almost an uncle in his previous life. In his previous life, where information was advanced, what had he not seen? Yafei's tricks were far from the so-called beauties in his previous life who played with their pursuers for fun. After this episode, Liu did not take it to heart and continued to play with his true sun flame. However, for Gu and I, this matter was too terrifying. Master Gu, why did you drag me out? After leaving, Yufei's anger still hadn't subsided. Her eyebrows furrowed and she unhappily said to Gu and I, "Didn't you see his attitude? He said that to me, if I don't teach him a lesson, how can I vent my anger? Don't. Guni's face turned pale. He pulled Yufei and nervously said, "Don't make trouble, my young miss. This person, we can't afford to offend him." What? Can't afford to offend him? Yufei was stunned, then she laughed out loud. Master Gu, what are you talking about? He's just a teenager from a small family. With his little ability, I can crush him with one hand. Can't afford to offend him? Are you kidding me? It's not like that. Guni's face became more and more ugly. My young miss. How is he from a small family? Did you notice the golden thread of fire in his hand? If I'm not wrong, his background is frightening. Golden thread of fire? Isn't it a golden thread? Yufei slightly frowned. She noticed the golden thread in Liyu's hand. She always thought it was just a golden thread, but Gu and I said it was a thread of fire? A line formed by flames? Young miss, do you still remember the Jiaolai clan? Do you still remember the giant golden palm that fell from the sky? Cold sweat appeared on Guni's forehead. If I'm not wrong, the golden thread of fire in that teenager's hand is exactly the same as the golden flame that covered the sky. Ah! Yufei's body swayed and her beautiful face turned pale. She almost collapsed to the ground as she unconsciously muttered, Do-di, this young man definitely isn't. But he was definitely the descendant or disciple of that Do-di. Is such a person someone we can afford to provoke? Gu and I wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and pulled Yufei into the carriage. Let's go. Let's go. Driving the carriage, Gu and I and Yufei hurriedly fled in a panic. Liu didn't know that he had unintentionally acted tough again. The Grand Sun primordial flame was just like that. After he got tired of it, Liu directly threw it into the resource vault. Forget it, I'll keep it to fool Xiao Feng. Maybe he can really use it as a deviant flame. After retracting the true sun fire, Liu felt bored again. It's been a long time since I paid attention to Xiao Feng directly. Since I'm bored anyway, I might as well watch the show online. With a thought, the system instantly connected to the Supreme Pill Spirit. The accompanying grandpa immediately transmitted the scene of Xiao Feng's surroundings to him. Starting to fight monsters to level up again? Liu saw Xiao Feng once again enter the forest of the magical beast mountain range and couldn't help but smile. This kid is really diligent. A diligent employee. As the boss, Liu was very satisfied. After passing through a dense forest, Xiao Feng came to a valley. There was a group of wind foxes here. This group of wind foxes couldn't even be considered as magical beasts. Their reactions were very quick and they were very agile. Xiao Feng considered them as his hunting target. Wind foxes weren't magical beasts, so the harvest from killing them was negligible. But Xiao Feng's real purpose was to train his agility. Just as he was about to start, Xiao Feng suddenly heard a sneer from behind him. Startled, he hurriedly turned his head around. Great Elder? Seeing the person behind him, Xiao Feng secretly raised his vigilance. The Great Elder was following behind him. He definitely didn't come with good intentions. With your strength, you actually dared to enter the magical beast mountain range. How surprising! The Great Elder's face was cold as he walked over step by step. Looking at Xiao Feng, his eyes were as cold as ice. When he was about 10 feet away from Xiao Feng, the Great Elder stopped and said, I never believed that you could rely on your own efforts to reach the 8th level. You must be hiding some secret. Tell me and I can spare your life. Great Elder, you persecute the family's disciples like this. Aren't you afraid of the family head's anger? Xiao Feng's face was still very calm as he looked at the Great Elder and said indifferently, The family head's anger? Ha ha. The Great Elder sneered and pointed around. Where is this place? This is the magical beast mountain range. You only have the strength of an 8th level doji, yet you dared to enter the magical beast mountain range. Isn't it normal to die? That makes sense. Unfortunately, you have the wrong idea. Raising his head to look at the first elder, Xiaofeng sneered. Suddenly, a strange weapon that was over 4 feet long and had an exquisite and fierce appearance appeared in his hand. This is your secret? This is your secret to reaching the 8th level of doji? The great elder didn't care about Xiaofeng's counterattack at all. Instead, he was very interested in the Vajra in Xiaofeng's hand. The great elder did have the right to be disdainful. As a 2-star Dosher, the great elder's strength compared to Xiaofeng was the difference between a lion and a mouse. The great elder could easily kill him with a single slap. However, Vajra glare, demons flee. A strange Sanskrit sound rang out as a dazzling golden light bloomed from the Vajra. In an instant, Xiaofeng's body was covered in a layer of brilliant golden light. On the surface of his body, a layer of golden armor appeared. Battle chi armor? You're a Dosher? No, it's the power of this weapon? When the Grand Elder saw the abnormal signs on Xiaofeng's body, he was first startled before his eyes lit up as he stared at the Vajra demon subduing pestle in Xiaofeng's hand. Good. What a treasure. I was right to come here today. Is it a good treasure? There's something better. Xiaofeng's body shone with a golden light. He stomped his feet and leaped up, rushing toward the great elder. Tut! Xiaofeng, who was rushing forward, suddenly let out a strange shout. A thunderous roar suddenly rang out, and the vast and majestic sound waves were like heavenly thunder, intimidating all the demons. The thunderous roar carried a soul-shaking power. The first elder, who bore the brunt of it, was stunned by the sound waves. His eyes rolled back as he stood there in a daze, as if he had been struck dumb. Virtuous draconic force, Vajra strength. Another strange Sanskrit sound rang out, and Xiaofeng's muscles bulged. A huge divine force supported his body as he raised the Vajra demon subduing pestle in his hand and smashed it down heavily. Pooh! Like a hammer smashing into a watermelon, the great elder's brain instantly burst open. He died in an extremely cowardly manner. What the hell? Liu was so shocked that his jaw almost dropped. Vajra blessing spell, thunderous demon subduing mantra, and a dragon elephant Vajra divine force. This thing, could it be because of the Vajra demon subduing pestle? He actually gave away the dragon slaying saber for a novice weapon. Chapter 98. System, what's going on? I only told you to repair. Liu was throwing a tantrum at the system. When he heard the word repair, Liu was shocked. Could it be, system, you completely repaired the Vajra? You even repaired the divine ability in it? According to the user's instructions, the system used the fragments of the incense burner to repair the Vajra. Repair complete as per the user's instructions. What the F***ck? Hearing the system's reply, Liu was speechless for a long time. Liu's original intention was to repair the Vajra in the shape of the Vajra. How could he give a newbie a weapon that was too strong? He didn't expect that in a moment of carelessness, he actually repaired the divine ability of the Vajra and even let Xiaofeng use it. Wait, he used it? How did he use it? Even if the Vajra is repaired, it doesn't have any energy left. How can he still use it? At this moment, through the system connection, Liu saw the situation change again. After knocking down the first elder with a single strike, Xiaofeng, who was still looking majestic just a moment ago, lost all of his golden radiance in the next instant. He staggered and fell to the ground, panting heavily. The Vajra in his hand was thrown to the side. Looking at him, it seemed like he didn't even have the strength to pick it up. So he's a seconds guy? Liu pursed his lips and laughed secretly. If you're a man, then hold on for 3 seconds. The Grand Supreme Elixir Spirit sent back Xiaofeng's monitoring data. Liu already knew what was going on. Using battle energy to activate the divine ability in the Vajra? It can actually do that? The battle energy in this world can actually activate Buddhist divine abilities? Liu was a little surprised and frowned slightly. The Vajra guardians of the Buddhist sects are mostly demons and ghosts that have been subdued. Since the Buddhists have subdued these demons, they definitely have to unleash their combat power. Naturally, they can't let them lose their power. As Liu pondered, he looked at Xiao Feng, who was paralyzed on the ground through the system connection. In other words, this Buddhist guardian Vajra technique is very versatile? No matter what kind of power I cultivated in the past, I can unleash the Vajra divine ability? Guardian Vajras were Buddhist fighters. Although their statuses were ordinary and they did not have any Buddhist mystical abilities, when it came to fighting, Guardian Vajra's combat strength was not bad. If that's the case, a strange smile suddenly appeared on Liu's face. Xiao Feng, you don't mind me using you as an experiment, do you? The mountain range of magical beasts. Xiao Feng's entire body went soft. He collapsed on the ground, panting heavily. A spiritual light flashed on the ring, and the figure of the Supreme Pill Spirit appeared. He actually managed to activate the power of the Vajra exorcism pestle. Daring to do anything, he's really audacious. The Supreme Pill Spirit glared at Xiao Feng in annoyance. He turned around and waved at the Great Elder's corpse. A faint blue flame flashed, and the Great Elder's corpse disappeared without a trace. It seemed to have been burned to ashes. In fact, this was just the system's recovery function. It directly recovered and decomposed the Great Elder. Unintentionally giving Xiao Feng a weapon that was too strong, Liu could not take it back. He could only make up his mind to squeeze him dry in the future. Therefore, the energy recovered from the Great Elder's corpse was treated as interest. Didn't I have no choice? It's just a fight to the death. Xiao Feng smiled bitterly and shook his head. That's right, Senior Supreme Pill Spirit, the power of this weapon is really too strong. In just an instant, all the strength in my body was used up. I don't even have the strength to move a finger. Of course. A weapon that can even kill a Do Huang with a stick, do you think it's a joke? With your little strength, you're lucky that you didn't exhaust all the essence energy in your body. The Supreme Pill Spirit snorted and then asked Xiao Feng, Kid, when did you discover these divine abilities in the Vajra pestle? Senior, when I used this weapon for the first time and poured my chi into the demon-subduing pestle to kill the single-horned green centipede, I discovered these Do skills. Divine ability? Isn't this a Do skill? What is a divine ability? Xiao Feng was stunned for a moment. He obviously didn't understand what divine ability was. Oh, the Do skills above the heaven rank are called divine abilities. Because Liu wanted to do an experiment, the Supreme Pill Spirit was busy reporting to Liu and submitting the data of Xiao Feng using the Vajra divine ability. How could he have time to care about Xiao Feng? He just casually spouted a Do skill above the heaven rank. Then, unsurprisingly, it scared Xiao Feng half to death. It's actually a Do skill above the heaven rank? Xiao Feng was so shocked that he couldn't speak coherently. Above the heaven rank? There weren't many profound rank Do skills in the entire Xiao family, right? The earth rank was already unimaginable. The heaven rank was already unheard of. Above the heaven rank? Actually, the Supreme Pill Spirit's words weren't too ridiculous. After all, the earth rank Do skill could only stop a waterfall and didn't even collapse a mountain. It really wasn't too strong. Even the heaven rank Do skill, the Vajra glass body of this world, was inferior to the Vajra blessing spell. The Vajra blessing spell, the Vajra protection spell, could be broken through by any blade. When practiced to a high level, destroying mountains and breaking peaks was nothing difficult. The thunderous demon subduing mantra was similar to the sound wave skills of this world. The sound waves vibrated and shattered everything. It also had the magical effect of shocking the soul. Needless to say, the dragon elephant Vajra divine strength, when practiced to a high level, the power of the 8-division heavenly dragon would be unbelievably strong. In Wuyuan City, Liu was thinking about his experiment. 8 Duan-Ji power was used up and the duration was less than a second? Receiving the data submitted by the Supreme Pill Spirit, Liu nodded. This world also has the Vajra glass body, Buddha's fiery lotus, and other similar skills. Seems like it's worth a try. System, according to the copied lifetime knowledge of Yao Lao and the data provided by Xiao Feng, deduce the possibility of cultivating the Vajra technique in this world. Deduction complete. The conclusion is as follows. This world's heaven-earth origin Qi meets the cultivation requirements of the Vajra technique. Can I cultivate it? Liu smiled. Xiao Feng brat, just obediently be a Vajra in the future. With a plan in mind, Liu quickly made the overall arrangement. System, send the Herculean mountain moving scripture to the Supreme Pill Spirit. In the future, this will be Xiao Feng's main cultivation method. Vajra blessing mantra, thunderous demon subduing mantra, dragon elephant Vajra divine strength. These 3 divine abilities cultivation methods should also be sent over. After deciding to nurture Xiao Feng into a guardian Vajra, Liu immediately planned out Xiao Feng's future. The Herculean mountain moving scripture was the main cultivation method. To be able to cultivate the mountain moving strength and immovable mountain, these 2 great divine abilities, one would have the body of a Vajra, with the essence of infinite strength. Thinking about that scene, unbreakable Vajra, Xiao Feng had boundless strength. He first cast a Vajra buff on himself, followed by a dragon elephant buff. Then, he chanted the demon vanquishing mantra and swung his Vajra demon vanquishing pestle. That would really be injured upon contact and death upon impact. That scene was too beautiful, no one dared to look. Ha 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 ha. Liu laughed loudly. Chapter 99. Time passed day by day. While Liu nurtured the 5 energies in his chest, he was also running the store with all his heart. Xiao Feng, under the persuasion of the Supreme Elixir Spirit, leveled up by killing monsters and resolutely embarked on the path of no return of the Guardian Vajra. 2 years passed just like that. When Liu nurtured the 5 Qi in his chest and was about to complete his cultivation in the Dao Palace realm, a major event that would affect many people's fates was about to happen. Is the annulment about to begin? Looking at the carriage with the Yunlan Sect's cloud silver sword insignia driving past the store, Liu smiled. Annulment is a humiliation that tramples on a man's dignity. As a man, I feel the same way. So, Liu smiled and turned around to return to the shop. Xiao family courtyard. The atmosphere in the hall was very gloomy. Xiao family head, please annul this engagement. Mr. Gu Yi of the Yunlan sect's words were still echoing in the hall. Crack! The teacup in Xiao Zhan's hand suddenly exploded and turned into powder. There were many people in the hall. Almost all the direct descendants of the Xiao family were in the hall. Gu Ye's annulment in public was equivalent to giving Xiao Zhan and his father a tight slap in the face in front of everyone. Their faces were swollen from the slap. Hee, someone bullied us at our doorstep and used the power of the Yunlan sect to force an annulment. Xiao Zhan. His dignity as the head of the Xiao family has been swept to the ground. The remaining 2 elders of the Xiao family had a very serious expression on their faces, as if they were facing a common enemy. However, their eyes were filled with mockery and disdain that could not be concealed no matter how hard they tried. Xiao Yan? Annulment? The other members of the Xiao family in the hall also had a very strange expression. They had to pretend to be filled with righteous indignation, but they could not conceal the mockery in their hearts. However, the younger generation was much more direct. They did not hide their true thoughts at all. Their mocking gazes swept across Xiao Yan's face intentionally or unintentionally. Damn it! Xiao Yin lowered his head slightly and gritted his teeth. The anger in his heart was like lava, and his body trembled slightly. Miss Nalan. Xiao Yin turned around and stared at Nalan Yinran, who was sitting at the side. The anger in his heart made Xiao Yan's eyes cold. I want to ask, who was the one who wanted to break off the engagement today? It's my idea. Nalan Yinran stood up and looked at Xiao Yin. She said calmly, Grandpa didn't agree, but this is my business. I will make my own decisions. More importantly, speaking till here, Nalan Yinran's face was filled with pride. More importantly, this is also the sect leader's intention. This is my master, the Yunlan sect's sect master's idea. You can treat this as a threat. Reality is like this. There is no fairness in this world. You have to be clear about the difference between you and me. Boom! Before Nalan Yinran could finish her words, a loud noise came from the entrance of the hall. The originally closed door of the hall was smashed by a huge force. Who dares to bully my brother? An angry roar rang out, and a majestic and vast aura covered the sky and covered the earth. Everyone in the hall trembled under this aura. Roar! A roaring lion appeared above Xiao Zhan's head, and a golden light rushed up. Xiao Zhan protected all the pale-faced Xiao clan disciples. On the other side, Gu Ye's expression changed greatly. He quickly sprinkled a cloud of green sword light and protected the trembling Nalan Yinran behind him. Who is this? The sudden change made everyone in the hall turn pale with fright, and they all turned to look at the door. Bang! 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 The heavy footsteps were like earth-shattering war drums, beating on everyone's hearts. At the entrance of the hall, a tall and imposing young man stepped into the hall with his head held high. This person stood still at the entrance of the hall, and his vast aura was like a towering mountain in front of everyone. Brother Feng. Seeing the figure in front of him, Xiao Yin was very excited, but also felt wronged, like a bullied child who suddenly saw his elder brother. Xiao Feng? He's actually so powerful? This aura, what kind of strength does he have? Seeing this figure, all the Xiao clan members in the hall were so shocked that their eyes almost fell out. Your Excellency, this is my Yunlan sect. Gu Ye's expression was very ugly, and he quickly brought out his backer. Yunlan sect? Xiao Feng glanced at Gu Ye expressionlessly, and a cold smile appeared on his lips. I just heard that someone used the Yunlan sect to threaten my Xiao clan? You must be from the Yunlan sect, right? Very good. If you can take one move from me, I'll spare your life. Xiao Feng stepped out, and a brilliant golden light bloomed on his body. A set of golden armor appeared on the surface of his body, and his monstrous aura was as deep as the sea. He clenched his fist, waved it, and punched out. The fist was like a mountain. The brilliant golden fist carried a force as heavy as a mountain, even though its target was only Gu Ye alone. However, everyone in the hall felt as if they had been hit by a huge mountain. At this moment, Gu Ye was in the most difficult position, the most helpless, and the most regretful. Facing this heavy fist, Gu Ye was so regretful that his intestines turned green. Why couldn't he bear Nalan's pleading? Why did he come to the Xiao clan to do such a hateful thing? However, no matter how regretful he was, he had to at least take this punch first. The misty green sword aura whistled through the air, and Gu Ye waved his hand, forming a sword net in front of him. He hoped that the sharp net of sword chi would be able to block this shocking punch. But it was meaningless. How could the Han seal of the 9 mountain-moving seals be so easily blocked? Xiao Feng, who had been cheated by Li Yu, had cultivated the strongman mountain-moving scripture, and his strength had become extremely terrifying. With a punch, the sword net in front of Gu Ye exploded, as if it had been crushed by a mountain. It was completely unable to resist. Damn it! Gu Ye's expression changed, and he could only hold the long sword in front of him. Boom! The fist, which was as heavy as a mountain, ruthlessly smashed into Gu Ye's chest. Pooh! Gu Yi spat out a mouthful of blood and his body flew out. Bang, 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 he smashed into the carved screen in the hall and the wooden grid in the hall. He was directly sent flying out of the hall and heavily smashed into a few large trees before coming to a stop. Uncle Go. When Nalan Yanran saw this scene, she was so frightened that her body trembled, and she screamed at Gu Yi. Pooh! Gu Yi spat out another mouthful of blood, leaned on his sword, and half squatted on the ground. With great difficulty, he lifted his head to look at Xiao Feng in the hall. If you can take a punch from me, I will spare your life. Xiao Feng swept a glance at Gu Yi, whose face was as pale as a sheet, and ignored him. He turned his head to look at Nalan Yanran. Ah! When Xiao Feng stared at her, Nalan Yanran was so frightened that she trembled. Sir, please have mercy. Please let Nalan go. When Gu Yi saw Xiao Feng turn to Nalan Yanran, he hurriedly pleaded for Nalan Yanran. Just now, you told my brother, Xiao Yan, to be clear about the difference between the two of you? Xiao Feng ignored Gu Yi and looked at Nalan Yanran. His calm face revealed a trace of ridicule, and he said, You dare to look down on him? Remember this. Even if a flood dragon is trapped in shallow water, how can a water snake humiliate it? Chapter 100. Xiao Feng. Xiao Zhan walked in front of Xiao Feng and nodded. Good boy. Brother Feng. Xiao Yin walked in front of Xiao Feng with red eyes. Brother Feng, thank you. We are brothers. Why are you being so polite? Xiao Feng smiled and patted Xiao Yan's shoulder. You can decide for yourself. Don't worry, no matter what decision you make, brother will support you. Okay. Xiao Yin nodded heavily. He was very touched. It was so good to have such a brother. Niece Nalan. At this time, Xiao Zhan had already walked in front of Nalan Yanran. He said with a sullen face, Although you didn't do well in this matter, I won't bully the weak and I won't do anything to you. I will naturally talk to Nalan about this matter. Father, no need to say any more. Xiao Yin walked forward, puffed out his chest and raised his head. Miss Nalan, today you used the Yunlan sect's power to force my Xiao clan. You want to break off the engagement because you think that I, Xiao Yin, am a piece of trash and not worthy of you. At this point, Xiao Yin looked at Xiao Feng. My brother has been called a piece of trash for 10 years. After 10 years of hard work, his Doji Li is only at level 1. But now, who dares to call him a piece of trash? As Xiao Yin spoke, he approached Nalan Yanran step by step. Nalan Yanran looked a little flustered. She could only keep retreating until she was blocked by the stool. Xiao Yin sneered and continued, Yes, I am a piece of trash now, but I am still young. I still have time. Since I was able to create a miracle 3 years ago, why do you think that I can't make a comeback? Miss Nalan, life is full of ups and downs. Don't bully a young man because he is poor. Okay. You're ambitious. As soon as Xiao Yan finished speaking, Xiao Zhan and Xiao Feng both praised him almost at the same time. What right do you have to lecture me? Nalan Yanran was a spoiled young miss. When had she ever been reprimanded like this? Although she was frightened by Xiao Feng's power, she knew that Xiao Feng wouldn't do anything to her after Xiao Zhan stepped in. As a result, the young miss' temper flared up again. Your big brother Xiao Feng is indeed amazing. But that's not you. What right do you have to lecture me? Nalan Yanran was startled by Xiao Feng, and after being reprimanded by Xiao Yan, she seemed to be a little hysterical. You said you can turn things around again? Alright, I, Nalan Yanran, will be waiting for you. 3 years later, I'll be waiting for you at the Yunlan sect. If you have the ability, prove it to me. If you can defeat me at that time, I, Nalan Yanran, will be your slave for the rest of my life. It's all up to you. Chi. Xiao Yan sneered. 3 years later, I will definitely go to the Yunlan sect. But, slave? Someone like you? I don't care. After speaking, Xiao Yan ignored Nalan Yanran, who had an extremely ugly expression on her face. He turned around and walked to the table, picked up a pen, and wrote a divorce letter. Picking up the divorce letter, Xiao Yan walked in front of Nalan Yanran and slammed his hand on the table. Don't think that you're so great. I don't care about a woman like you. This is a divorce letter expelling you from the Xiao clan. From today onwards, Nalan Yanran and the Xiao clan have nothing to do with each other. You dare to divorce me? Nalan Yanran was unable to restrain her anger and seemed to want to hit him. Suddenly, she put down her hand, sneaked a glance at Xiao Feng, and sat down timidly. Cough cough. At this time, Gu Yi, who had been paying attention to the situation, walked in while coughing with his sword. Xiao clan head. Gu Yi glanced at the divorce letter on the table, and his pale face became even uglier. Raising his head to look at Xiao Zhan, Gu Yi said, "Isn't this divorce letter a bit too much?" Even though this was Nalan's idea, it was also approved by the sect leader. If you divorce Nalan, the sect leader wouldn't look good either. Xiao clan head, this divorce letter. What a joke! Xiao Feng snorted. Your Yunlan sect leader's face is face, but our Xiao clan's face isn't? Haven't you been beaten enough? You want to try again? Cough cough. Gu Yi coughed again. Your Excellency's strength is indeed extraordinary, but you just used a secret technique to increase your strength, right? Your own strength is at most at the level of a fighting master, our Yunlan sect. I am a medicine master. Xiao Feng's tone was indifferent as he gave a shocking answer. With a flick of his wrist, a jade-green pill appeared in his palm, and a refreshing fragrance emanated from the pill. Qi-gathering elixir? In the hall, everyone who recognized this pill exclaimed in unison. Their gazes towards Xiao Feng became very fervent. How could a third-grade pill like the Qi-gathering elixir be taken out by just anyone? Seeing this pill, Xiao Feng's identity as a medicine master was confirmed beyond doubt. Xiao Feng is a medicine master? Ha 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 ha. Xiao Zhan laughed heartily. His laughter revealed incomparable carefreeness. The Xiao clan had produced a medicine master. How joyous was this! Medicine master? Gu Ye's pale face seemed to turn even paler. He was well aware of the status of a medicine master. Although Xiao Feng was at most a fighting master, and his medicine master was at most a second-grade medicine master. In itself, this was not much of a threat. But medicine masters were not born from the soil. The requirements to become a medicine master were very stringent. Apart from having the aptitude to be a medicine master, more importantly, the birth of every medicine master was bound to have a medicine master of a higher level as his or her teacher. This kind of hands-on teaching was even closer than the feelings of a father. Xiao Feng could casually take out a Qi-gathering elixir, which meant that his teacher could at least refine a third-grade pill. Moreover, from the appearance of this pill, it seemed to be even more powerful than the Qi-gathering elixir refined by Tanwang Guha in Gu Ye's storage ring. His teacher was a medicine master even more powerful than Tanwang Guha? This discovery shocked Gu Yi. The current situation was that if he provoked Xiao Feng, he would have to provoke the teacher behind Xiao Feng. Would it be that if he defeated the younger one, the older one would step in? The Yunlan sect, which had a close relationship with Tanwang Guha, naturally knew how powerful a medicine master was. Even with the power of the Yunlan sect, if they wanted to provoke a medicine master of Tanwang Guha's level, they would have to pay a heavy price. For the sake of Nalan Yanran, the sect had to pay such a heavy price. Even if she was the disciple of the sect leader, it was not worth it. My brother Xiao Yan also has the aptitude to be a medicine master. Xiao Feng's tone was indifferent as he uttered another sentence that could scare someone to death. What? Xiao Yan has the aptitude to be a medicine master? Hearing this news, everyone in the hall jumped up in shock. Xiao Feng, is this true? Yan really has the aptitude to be a medicine master? Xiao Zhan was so excited that his face turned red. He quickly asked Xiao Feng. My teacher said it. Of course it's true. Xiao Feng nodded at Xiao Zhan, who was full of anticipation. Then, he looked at Xiao Yan and said with a smile, My teacher saw you and confirmed that you also have the aptitude to be a medicine master. Xiao Yan, from now on, no one will dare to look down on you. At this moment, Nalan Yanran was completely stunned. How could she, who was very familiar with Gu He, not know how rare it was to have the aptitude to be a medicine master? Thinking about her actions today, Nalan Yanran was completely dumbfounded. Blind as a bat. This was blind as a bat. The trash that she looked down on was actually a medicine master. This made everything she had done today into a joke. She treated a future medicine master, who could have become her husband, as a trash. She went to his house to forcefully break off the engagement and was even divorced. From now on, she, Nalan Yanran, would definitely be treated as a typical example of blind as a bat and be mocked by everyone in the world. So, everyone present knew that Nalan Yanran's breaking off of the engagement was already a joke. This matter is really... Gu Yi had a bitter face as he cupped his hands towards Xiao Zhan. Patriarch Xiao, this matter. Sigh. We'll take our leave now. After saying that, Gu Yi grabbed Nalan Yanran, who was still in a daze, and hurriedly left. Ha 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 ha. In the hall, Xiao Zhan laughed loudly, extremely carefree. Chapter 101. The farce of breaking off the engagement was over. Nalan Yanran carried the reputation of having eyes but failing to see, and ran back to the Yunlan sect dejectedly. The Xiao family's prestige was greatly shaken. To any clan, having two alchemists was a great thing that would make them go wild with joy. Xiao Feng and Xiao Yan were already famous. Xiao Feng, the trash who was once at the bottom for 10 years, had now soared into the sky. In these 2 years, Xiao Feng had been wandering in the Magic Beast mountain range for a long time, killing monsters and leveling up. The harvest of these 2 years not only allowed Xiao Feng to obtain the qualifications of a pharmacist and become a pharmacist. Moreover, he, who was used as a test subject by Li Yu, had embarked on the unprecedented Vajra road in this world. Cultivating the Herculean mountain-moving scripture caused his strength to soar. Other than the growth of his Do Qi cultivation, he also had a huge strength and a strong physique. Now, with the strength of an 8-star Do master and the title of a second-tier pharmacist, he was in the limelight. Xiao Yan, a genius who had already fallen, had been reduced to trash for 3 years, but suddenly the title of a pharmacist was revealed. This allowed him to escape from the situation of being ridiculed and once again emitted a dazzling brilliance. Teacher, you said that cousin Xiao Yan's suffering is about to end? Xiao Feng was discussing with the Grand Pill Spirit whether or not he could teach Xiao Yan to become a pharmacist. He didn't expect the Grand Pill Spirit to directly say, Your cousin is about to break free from the sea of suffering and soar into the sky. This news made Xiao Feng very happy. Ever since he became the disciple of the Grand Pill Spirit, Xiao Feng's strength had increased rapidly. The skills of a pharmacist were also very skillful in the great illusionary land. He also had the thought of helping Xiao Yan, but he was always stopped by the Grand Pill Spirit with the reason that the calamity is not over. At this moment, hearing the words of the Grand Pill Spirit, Xiao Feng was both surprised and happy. Teacher, you always said that cousin Xiao Yan was undergoing training, but you never said the specific reason. Since his training is about to end, can you tell me the truth? Xiao Feng raised his head to look at Xiao Yan, who was sweating profusely as he trained, and asked the Supreme Dan Spirit in his heart. It's not impossible for me to tell you. After the Supreme Pill Spirit asked for instructions from Li Yu and received Li Yu's approval, he no longer hid it. Have you noticed? Your cousin, Xiao Yan, also has a ring on his finger. What? Xiao Feng's entire body trembled, and his jaw almost dropped to the ground. This shocking news caused the usually calm youth to turn pale with fright. Could it be that his ring also has an existence similar to you? Xiao Feng took a deep breath, suppressed the shock in his heart, and quickly asked the Supreme Elixir Spirit. Qi. The Supreme Elixir Spirit sneered disdainfully. A half-dead remnant soul relied on absorbing 3 years of your brother's battle Qi energy to survive. Compared to me, he is not even worthy of carrying my shoes. You mean, my brother's battle Qi was absorbed by the remnant soul in that ring? Is this the reason why he fell in realm? Didn't you say that this is training? Why? Although his battle Qi was absorbed for 3 years, his temperament has grown in these 3 years, right? His temperament has become more tenacious, right? Isn't this training? More importantly, that remnant soul is a pharmacist, and he is a 9th-grade pharmacist. The Supreme Elixir Spirit laughed and continued. He has absorbed 3 years of battle Qi. If you don't give him some compensation and don't teach your brother, how can there be such a good thing? Moreover, even if he wakes up now, he is only a remnant soul. He still has to rely on your brother's help to restore his human body. So, you can rest assured. This is your brother's opportunity. I see. Xiao Feng nodded. He already had an idea in his mind. My little brother had his dou qi sucked away for 3 years and suffered 3 years of torture. I can't just let him get away with it. I have to make him pay the price for it. So, Senior Supreme Elixir Spirit, I still plan to teach Xiao Yan some pharmacist knowledge first, so that he won't be deceived. What do you think? Up to you. The Supreme Elixir Spirit waved his hand indifferently. In the following time, Xiao Feng began to teach Xiao Yan about pharmacist knowledge step by step. As Xiao Yan had been learning from Xiao Feng these few years and worked hard to cultivate, his control of his own battle Qi was stronger than before. The speed of the battle Qi in his body was much slower. So, a month later, when Xiao Yan was training at the back of the mountain, the voice of an old grandfather sounded from the ring in his hand. He finally woke up. The old voice seemed to have a trace of nostalgia. You? Who are you? Even though Xiao Yan had gone through 3 years of training, he was also shocked by the voice that suddenly came out from the ring. Little kid, don't be nervous. The old man smiled gently. After so many years, I can finally see the light of day again. I even met someone with the qualifications of a pharmacist. How lucky! Hee. Thank you, little kid, for the 3 years of worship. Otherwise, I don't know when I would wake up. 3 years of worship? Xiao Yan's face changed. He immediately thought of the battle Qi in his body that had been dissipating since 3 years ago. So it's you. So it's you who did this? 3 years of humiliation, 3 years of hardship, made Xiao Yan understand the truth, and anger rose in his heart. F***ck. Even after 3 years of training, Xiao Yan had become much calmer and more mature. But at this moment, the anger in his heart made him fly into a rage. He reached out and tore off the ring on his finger and threw it down the cliff. Little kid, your temper is really big. What made Xiao Yan shocked was that the ring that he had just thrown out was actually floating in midair for some reason. What was even more frightening was that above the ring, there was actually a translucent pale figure floating. Little kid, do you want to become stronger? Do you want to be outstanding? Yes. The old man's figure floated over. The words that came out of his mouth were very tempting. Shut up. Without waiting for the old man to finish speaking, Xiao Yan angrily interrupted. If it wasn't for you absorbing my battle Qi for 3 years, I would have become stronger. I would have been outstanding. Even now, it wouldn't be difficult for me to rise again. Cram. I can make you a pharmacist. The old man's eyebrows twitched as he was lectured by Xiao Yan. He hurriedly revealed his final trump card. With the prestige of this world's pharmacists, as long as he laid out this condition, the old man was very confident that this kid in front of him would run over and beg to be his disciple. However, Tsk. Xiao Yan disdainfully curled his lips and sneered. Do I need you to become a pharmacist? My brother is a pharmacist. The old man was completely stunned. How could this be? How could this be? This isn't right? It shouldn't be like this, right? At this moment, the ring grandfather's journey of showing off had not even begun, and he was completely stunned. Chapter 102. After promising countless benefits, he finally managed to pacify Xiao Yan. The old grandpa in the ring wiped the non-existent cold sweat on his forehead and sighed. Where did the hot-blooded youngsters who were willing to help others and easily fooled go? The next day, when Xiao Yan ran to Xiao Feng and asked him for purple bluegrass, bone-washing flour, and wood-type demon core, Xiao Feng smiled. Your cousin has officially escaped from the abyss of suffering. The Grand Supreme Pill Spirit laughed in Xiao Feng's mind. I hope your cousin won't squeeze too much out of that remnant soul. Xiao Feng smiled and gave the ingredients for the foundation elixir to Xiao Yan. Seeing Xiao Yan's radiant and confident appearance, Xiao Feng was relieved. Xiao Feng, with a 9th-level alchemist by your side, with your cousin's talent, he will quickly rise again. Next, the Grand Supreme Pill Spirit smiled. Next is your time to roam the Jianghu. After cultivating Xiao Feng for so long, he could finally let him go without worrying about being killed. After spending 3 years, Liu took advantage of this time to speed up his own cultivation, but he had waited for too long. There are still many good things in this world. The remains of the ancient void dragon and heavenly demon ancient phoenix, the Bodhi tree in the desolate wilderness, the void lightning pool on Dragon Island, and the ancient world heavenly tomb. The strongest is of course the ancient Emperor Cave. Liu smiled. Although Xiao Feng's strength is still not enough, he can already make plans for the ancient world. Thinking of this, Liu immediately gave the Grand Supreme Pill Spirit an order to trick Xiao Feng into making a trip to the ancient world. Xiao Family Courtyard. Cousin Xiao Feng, you were looking for me? Xiao Sun Er was surprised to see Xiao Feng looking for her. Towards this cousin who suddenly rose up and whose background she didn't know, Xiao Sun Er was a little nervous. She was arranged to come to the Xiao family by her family with a mission. Although she didn't do anything wrong to the Xiao family, she always felt guilty as if she was a spy. And I came to find cousin Sun Er today because I have something to ask of you. Xiao Feng smiled at Xiao Sun Er, but in his heart he asked the Grand Supreme Pill Spirit, Teacher, why do you want me to find cousin Sun Er? You said there is a great opportunity, but cousin Sun Er is just an ordinary girl. Chi, what do you know? She's Sun Er? Her background would scare you to death if she told you about it. Don't interrupt. Just follow my instructions and tell her what I said. Alright. Xiao Sun to Xiao Sun Sun to Xiao Sun 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 to Xiao Sun Sun Sun, cousin Sun Er. I want to go to the ancient realm, please help me. According to the Grand Supreme Pill Spirit, Xiao Feng said something that even he couldn't understand. Ancient realm. Xiao Sun Er's delicate body trembled, and a trace of shock flashed across her eyes. Her expression was slightly flustered, but her heart was like a huge wave. How does he know about the ancient realm? Why is he looking for me? Could it be that he already knows about my background? Could it be that he already knows my purpose? Ancient realm? Where is the ancient realm? Cousin Xiao Feng is going to travel? But I don't even know what kind of place the ancient realm is. How can I be of any help? Xiao Sun Er quickly calmed down, and a charming smile appeared on her face as she shook her head at Xiao Feng. I once accidentally saw you reveal the Gold Emperor incinerating heaven flame. I just want to go to the ancient realm to pay respects to my ancestors. You don't have to panic. Xiao Feng smiled at Xiao Sun Er, and I just want to pass through. After all, with my current strength, it's really too difficult to rush to the Middle State Eastern Region ancient sacred city. Also, without your help, I can't enter the ancient realm. Gold Emperor incinerating heaven flame. So Brother Xiao Feng already knew about my background? Xiao Sun Air recalled that when she saw Xiao Yan being rejected, she revealed the aura of the Gold Emperor incinerating heaven flame in a moment of anger. She didn't expect Xiao Feng to see through it. Thinking that Xiao Feng had a pharmacist teacher, it wasn't strange for him to see through the origin of the Gold Emperor incinerating heaven flame. Seeing that she couldn't hide it anymore, Xiao Sun Air could only admit her identity. But Xiao Sun Air smiled at Xiao Feng. Cousin Xiao Feng, how do you know that I will definitely agree? Sun Air, it's been so many years, Xiao Yan might not know about your thoughts, but how can I not see through it? You'll be a member of our Xiao clan sooner or later. Helping me with a small matter is just a small matter. Xiao Feng looked at Xiao Sun Air. The smile on his face had a hint of ridicule. What thoughts? You're talking nonsense. Xiao Sun Air's face turned slightly red. Although she had already agreed in her heart, she still felt that it was inconceivable for Xiao Feng to overestimate himself. But, Cousin Xiao Feng, although your strength has greatly improved, to go to the ancient realm Heavenly Tomb, that's a place that only Do Zun and above can enter, right? If you go now, you'll be shattered the moment you reach the entrance. I don't plan to go in. Xiao Feng smiled and shook his head. The expression on his face was somewhat bitter. How many years has it been since our Xiao clan went to pay respects to our ancestors? As one of the 8 ancient clans, the Xiao clan has already declined to such a state. If we don't take advantage of your opportunity, it's hard to say if we'll have another chance to pay respects to our ancestors in the future. So, I hope that Cousin Sun Air can fulfill my wish. Cousin Xiao Feng, hearing Xiao Feng's words, Xiao Sun Air was also somewhat moved. After being in the Xiao clan for so many years, how could she not know the current situation of the Xiao clan? As one of the 8 ancient clans, a clan with the bloodline of a Dodi, the strongest person in the clan was only a 5-star Dodosher. This bit of cultivation, to the other 8 ancient clans, was completely like an ant. More importantly, Xiao Sun Air thought of her and Xiao Yan's future. If there was no turning point, it would be too difficult for the two of them to walk together. Perhaps Xiao Feng's trip to the ancient realm might bring about a turning point? Alright. Xiao Sun Air nodded, took out a jade pendant from her body and handed it to Xiao Feng. I'll get Uncle Linging to send you to the ancient sacred city. This jade pendant is a token that can allow you to enter the ancient realm. But, speaking up to this point, Xiao Sun Air looked deeply at Xiao Feng and seriously instructed, Cousin Xiao Feng, you can only take a look outside the heavenly tomb. You must not go near, otherwise. I know. Thank you. Xiao Feng took the jade pendant and solemnly thanked Xiao Sun Air. One day later, Xiao Feng left the house and stepped on his own journey. The ancient realm Heavenly Tomb is a good place. Other than the huge amount of energy, the souls of the countless experts are the real rewards. Cultivation comprehension, battle experience, cultivation methods and Do techniques, as well as a huge amount of soul energy. Liu laughed. By getting these, not only will I be able to recoup my investment in Xiao Feng, but I will also be able to earn a lot. Liu laughed for a while, then calmed his heart and continued to nourish the 5 qi in his chest. To reach the Tao Palace realm, one needed to open the divine treasures in the 5 organs. The 5 organs were the vital parts of the body. To open the divine treasures, one had to be careful and not make the slightest mistake. Therefore, even though Liu had many methods, it still took him more than 2 years to reach the Tao Palace realm. Half a month later, Liu once more closed the door to his shop, and his figure flickered as he appeared within the mountain range of magical beasts. The 5 qi in his chest had been completed, and the divine treasures in his 5 organs had been opened. This time, he did not need to go into seclusion for a long time to break through the 4 extremities. Liu sat on the ground with his eyes closed, and purple gold light bloomed around his body. Waves of angry sounds came from his body, and the essence in his body surged like a tide. A five-colored light rushed out from his chest, and the mysterious divine treasures in his 5 organs let out a clear sound. Faintly, it seemed like the sound of the great Tao was singing. Boom! A huge purple-gold mist rose into the sky, and his 4 limbs burst out with brilliant light. In a trance, his 4 limbs were like 4 pillars supporting the sky, and they burst out with indomitable spirit. Ha 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 ha! The 4 extremities of heaven and earth, supporting the sky and the sea. Liu laughed and stood up. Xiao Feng has already reached the ancient sacred city? Very good. Chapter 103. Is this the ancient sacred city? Xiao Feng raised his head and looked at the huge city standing in the vast wilderness. He looked at the light screen that covered the entire city and felt the vast divine might within. He was extremely shocked. This is the ancient sacred city. Linging smiled as he looked at the ancient city in front of him and said proudly, "This is the city that was built by the great emperor of the ancient clan. Since the ancient times, countless years have passed, but the ancient sacred city still has the awe-inspiring emperor's might. So it was built by the great emperor. It is indeed extraordinary." Xiao Feng nodded in admiration. This is considered awe-inspiring emperor's might? You dare to call yourself a great emperor with such strength? The true emperor's might, hee. Forget it, I can't be bothered to talk to you. The disdainful words of the pill spirit in the sky echoed in his mind. Xiao Feng couldn't comment at all and could only be speechless. A moment later, Ling Ying brought Xiao Feng to the entrance of the sacred city. The ancient city that was built with huge green rocks in front of him looked very old, but it gave off a sense of vicissitudes of history. In front of the open city gate, 2 rows of guards in pitch-black armor stood on both sides. The vast and thin aura of each guard made Xiao Feng speechless. The weakest is a king of battle. The grand pill spirit reminded Xiao Feng in a timely manner. King of battle? Even the guards at the city gate have such strength? Is this the power of the 8 ancient clans? My Xiao clan. Xiao Feng felt a wave of bitterness in his heart. He knew the origin of his clan from the grand pill spirit. They were also one of the 8 ancient clans and also had the bloodline of battle emperors. However, the Xiao clan had already declined to such a state. The strongest person was only a great battle master. Compared to the other 8 ancient clans, you are discouraged just like that? The grand pill spirit snorted coldly. With this old man's guidance, you will become a battle emperor sooner or later. Why are you envious of others? This disciple understands. Xiao Feng collected his mind and regained his calmness. A firm and confident expression bloomed in Xiao Feng's eyes. Good temperament. Ling Ying secretly sighed in admiration. When he saw Xiao Feng, he was shocked at first, but he calmed down in an instant. He became neither servile nor overbearing, as steady as a mountain. Ling Ying immediately began to admire this young man named Xiao Feng. Let's go. Ling Ying nodded at Xiao Feng and walked up to the city gates. After greeting the guards, he led Xiao Feng into the ancient city of Hallows. Descendant of the Xiao clan, are you the one who wants to enter the ancient realm? In a majestic hall in the ancient Saint City, Xiao Feng used the jade pendant that Xiao Sun Er had given him as a token and finally met the leader of the ancient tribe, Xiao Sun Er's father, Gu Yuan. Gu Yuan Gao sat in the main hall. Even though he was just casually asking Xiao Feng a question, Gu Yuan Gao still had a lot of questions. However, the vast and mighty aura of a peak Do Xing was still inadvertently emitted. To Xiao Feng, even the aura he emitted was like the might of the heavens. What a powerful aura! However, I am not afraid of you. Xiao Feng inhaled a deep breath of air. He lifted his head and straightened his back. He was fearless in the face of this vast might of the heavens. Gu Yuan was slightly surprised by Xiao Feng's performance. It was already rare for a mere doshi to be able to remain calm in front of the aura of an elite Do Xing. Although the Shao clan has declined, it is still one of the 8 ancient clans. The younger generation members are also extraordinary. Gu Yuan smiled at Xiao Feng and shook his head gently. However, why do you think that I will allow you to enter the ancient realm? My Shao clan is also one of the 8 ancient clans. Naturally, we have the qualifications to enter the ancient realm. Gu Yuan's words caused Xiao Feng to frown. Some pride rose in his heart. Although my Shao clan has declined, it is still one of the 8 ancient clans. How can I allow others to humiliate me? Ha! Gu Yuan smiled and shook his head. Since you know Sun Er's background and know about the ancient realm, I think you should know the reason why Sun Er came to your Shao clan, right? You can enter the ancient realm. Hand over the jade of the ancient god first. Gu Yuan stood up after saying this. A monstrous aura suddenly erupted and a vast aura came pressing down like a heavy mountain. The jade of the ancient god is of great importance. Given the current situation of your Shao clan, it is impossible for you to keep the jade of the ancient god. Why don't you hand it over to me so as to avoid bringing trouble to your Shao clan? Under the monstrous pressure, every word of Gu Yuan's was like a thunderclap. Xiao Feng's face turned pale under this aura. Even though he clenched his teeth and endured, his entire body was covered in perspiration. His bones seemed to be about to be crushed. Quickly release the true sun flame. The voice of the Supreme Elixir Spirit sounded in Xiao Feng's mind just as he was struggling bitterly and about to collapse. When Xiao Feng heard this, he hurriedly released the true sun flame that the Supreme Elixir Spirit had given him when he became an alchemist. Boom! A golden flame soared into the sky and a huge golden fire lotus bloomed above Xiao Feng's head. Open and aboveboard. Brilliant and dazzling. The golden flame emitted an awe-inspiring and inviolable divine aura as a dazzling light shot into the sky. The light shone on the main hall as if a scorching sun had risen in the hall. This is, Gu Yuan's expression changed. When he saw the golden flame, he blurted out, "Gold Emperor incinerating heaven flame?" As soon as he said this, Gu Yuan immediately realized that he was wrong. This flame that was like a blazing sun, this dazzling golden fire lotus, this flame that was awe-inspiring yet had an aura that could illuminate the earth and nurture everything was completely different from the Gold Emperor incinerating heaven flame that could burn everything. Since it was not the Gold Emperor incinerating heaven flame, then, in an instant, countless thoughts flashed through Gu Yuan's mind, but he could not figure out the origin of this flame. Until he looked at Xiao Feng and thought of the Shao clan from Xiao Feng, and from the Shao clan, he thought of Wu Yuan City. Then, he thought of the huge golden palm that had appeared in the sky above Wu Yuan City 3 years ago. How similar was the burning golden flame on the huge palm to Xiao Feng's golden fire lotus in front of him. Gu Yuan, who had secretly checked the palm print outside Wu Yuan City, felt the same awe-inspiring divine aura on Xiao Feng's flame that was exactly the same as the remaining aura on the palm print. He blurted out a name in shock. Great Emperor. Shrouding heaven? Gu Yuan's body trembled as a helpless bitter smile surfaced on the corner of his mouth. The Shao clan is actually related to the great Emperor shrouding heaven? No wonder a mere dou-shi like him dares to enter the Gu realm. No wonder he is not afraid of the prestige of the Gu clan. It turns out that he really does not need to be afraid. Gu Yuan withdrew his aura and a kind smile instantly appeared on his face. It was no wonder that he changed his expression so quickly. A living Dou-di was really too frightening. Raising his head to look at Xiao Feng, Gu Yuan said with a smile, "Nephew, put away your heavenly flame. I agree to your request to enter the Gu realm." Agree? Seeing Gu Yuan withdraw his aura and then agree to enter the Gu realm, Xiao Feng was very surprised. Is it because of the Grand Sun primordial flame? What is the origin of the Grand Sun primordial flame that teacher gave me? And the great Emperor shrouding heaven that Gu Yuan mentioned, could it be? Xiao Feng was shocked and hurriedly asked the Supreme Elixir Spirit excitedly, Teacher, the great emperor shrouding heaven, you are the great emperor shrouding heaven? Dodi? My teacher is a Dodi? Ha ha, ha. Xiao Feng was stunned by this news. Of course not. Chapter 104. No, no. Hearing the Supreme Elixir Spirit's denial, Xiao Feng was stunned. How could it not be? If it wasn't, how did my true sun flame come about? Teacher, just admit it. Don't lie to me. It's really not. The Supreme Elixir Spirit chuckled. I just knew him from a long time ago. Am I not an alchemist? I needed a heavenly flame and was too lazy to go out and find it, so I asked him for a true sun flame. That's it. Xiao Feng was obviously stunned for a moment. He needed a heavenly flame and was too lazy to find it, so he asked him for one. This reason was too powerful. Hearing the Supreme Elixir Spirit's words, he seemed to have an unusual relationship with Shrouding Heaven Great Emperor? Don't worry. You can call yourself the successor or disciple of Shrouding Heaven Great Emperor. No matter what you say, there's nothing to be afraid of. The Supreme Elixir Spirit said something that shocked Xiao Feng so much that his jaw almost fell off. These words, if his teacher was really not Shrouding Heaven Great Emperor, he had an extremely close relationship with Shrouding Heaven Great Emperor. He could even casually say that he was a disciple or a successor. How good of a relationship was this? Alright, at least with this excuse, he wouldn't be casually killed in the ancient realm. Xiao Feng raised his head and saw Gu Yuan's gentle smile. He secretly felt comfortable in his heart. It was good to have an awesome teacher. He could casually say that he was a Dodi. Even a peak Do Xing like Gu Yuan had no choice but to lower himself. Nephew, when do you plan to go to the ancient realm? I'll bring you there. Gu Yuan's tone became very cordial. Now is fine. Thank you, Uncle Gu. Since he had used the Dodi as a cover, Xiao Feng was even more confident in the Supreme Elixir Spirit, allowing him to deal with a peak Do Xing with ease. It's nothing. Gu Yuan chuckled and led Xiao Feng out of the hall to the entrance of the ancient realm. This was a huge lake. The dark green lake water rippled, and a mysterious and unfathomable aura faintly appeared on the sparkling water surface. Nephew, this is the entrance to the ancient realm. Wait here for a moment. I'll open the realm gate for you. Gu Yuan greeted Xiao Feng and waved his hand to release a ray of fighting spirit light, which fell into the lake. Buzz, the calm lake suddenly surged with waves. An extremely huge spatial fluctuation rushed out from the lake. Boom! When the spatial fluctuations reached their peak, a huge, brilliant light beam shot up from the bottom of the lake and connected with the light screen that enveloped the ancient sacred city. Boom! Boom! Dazzling brilliance flashed out, and suddenly, a thunderous explosion came from the sky above the lake. Crack! Crack! It was as if a huge force was tearing apart the space above the lake. Under Xiao Feng's shocked gaze, the space slowly tore apart. After a while, a black spatial gate leading to the unknown depths appeared in front of Xiao Feng. This is the spatial gate that leads to the ancient world. Nephew, please come in. Gu Yuan extended his hand and gestured to Xiao Feng. After which, he released his own Do Qi and turned it into a light barrier to protect Xiao Feng. He then led Xiao Feng into the spatial door. In front of him was endless flowing light, and the brilliant brilliance flowed rapidly in the spatial tunnel. Gu Yuan led Xiao Feng and flew all the way. After a while, they appeared on the other side of the spatial gate. In front of him was an endless green grassland. The blue sky above his head was clear, and the sky was high and the clouds were light. The heaven and earth essence qi that filled the space was extremely dense. Xiao Feng only felt that every pore in his body was greedily inhaling and exhaling the heaven and earth essence qi. In the sky, huge sky battleships whistled through the air. On the ground, huge cities dotted the verdant grasslands. The ancient world is indeed extraordinary. Xiao Feng inwardly exclaimed in admiration. He was extremely shocked by this peculiar space. Nephew, the ancient world is very vast. The heavenly tomb is still far from here. Let's take the sky-piercing flying ship there. As Gu Yuan spoke, he stretched out his hand and flicked out a ray of spiritual light. The spiritual light broke through the air and exploded into a ball of brilliant light in mid-air. Boom! A loud explosion sounded, and a gorgeous and exquisite huge flying ship broke through the air. In the blink of an eye, it was near the two of them. Nephew, please. Gu Yuan gestured to the flying ship and led Xiao Feng onto the gorgeous huge flying ship. What a big deal! Xiao Feng saw the exquisite and gorgeous decorations in the flying ship and couldn't help but praise this extremely luxurious ride. At this moment, the Supreme Elixir Spirit, who was very clear about Li Yu's preferences, hurriedly sent this scene to Li Yu. There's such a good thing? Li Yu almost drooled when he saw this huge and gorgeous flying ship. Tycoon. He's really a tycoon. Li Yu looked at him with disdain, and then he was extremely envious. I don't have such a good thing? I've been around for so long, and I don't even have a car? I still have to walk when I travel? I still haven't gotten rid of my identity as a loser? How preposterous! Li Yu's brows twitched, and he hurriedly instructed the system. System, connect to the Supreme Elixir Spirit and scan this flying ship for me. Li Yu naturally wouldn't instruct Xiao Feng to snatch this thing. Let's not talk about whether Xiao Feng could snatch it or not. Even if he managed to snatch it, Li Yu actually wouldn't take a fancy to it. This flying ship was very gorgeous and exquisite. But, to become Li Yu's ride, its essence was still a little lacking. As long as he scanned this flying ship and had complete information, Li Yu could use higher-grade materials to build an even more powerful flying ship. This was what Li Yu wanted. The system instantly completed the scanning task. Li Yu saw the new information about the flying ship in the resource warehouse, smiled and nodded, and cut off the system connection. The flying ship flew all the way. Not long after, the flying ship stopped between a steep mountain peak. Nephew, this is the heavenly tomb. Gu Yuan pointed to the canyon between the two mountain peaks in front of him and smiled at Xiao Feng. The heavenly tomb is a space of its own and is not outside the Gu realm. It only opens once every 20 years, and it has only been 2 years since the last time it opened, so we can't enter. I see. Xiao Feng nodded, but he secretly asked the Supreme Elixir Spirit in his heart, Teacher, we can't enter now? What should we do? It's fine. Leave it to me. You just have to pay your respects normally. After receiving the Supreme Elixir Spirit's instructions, Xiao Feng felt confident. He hurriedly stood up and bowed to Gu Yuan, saying, Thank you, Uncle Gu. I only need to pay my respects once. All right. Gu Yuan nodded and flew down with Xiao Feng, landing beside the canyon between the mountain peaks. Thank you, Uncle Gu. Xiao Feng thanked Gu Yuan, then bowed respectfully to the canyon space and kowtowed heavily. Ancestor, unfilial descendant Xiao Feng is here to pay respects to Ancestor. At the same time, Li Yu connected to the Supreme Elixir Spirit and said with a smile, System, scan and search for the Heavenly Tomb's spatial fulcrum and find the Heavenly Tomb for me. As the master of the mall space, Li Yu naturally knew that for a small space like the Heavenly Tomb to be hung in the Gu realm, there must be a spatial fulcrum in the Gu realm. As long as he found the object that became the spatial fulcrum, the Heavenly Tomb would be Li Yu's. Chapter 105. Command received, remote search scan activated. Search complete. The spatial fulcrum of the Heavenly Tomb has been found. The system quickly completed the search for the spatial fulcrum and displayed the results in Li Yu's mind. It's actually such a thing? This is the Heavenly Tomb? Li Yu looked at the image in his mind. It was a stone mill with a diameter of 2 feet that was deeply embedded in the rock. He was stunned for a long time. Was this the Heavenly Tomb? Or was it the Heavenly Mill? Forget it, I don't care. pass the results to the Supreme Elixir Spirit and ask him to activate the resource recovery and instruct the host to get the heavenly tomb back for me. After giving the order, Liu chuckled. After so long, I finally have something. No matter how powerful the heavenly tomb was, it was only something refined by a Do-D. The system's recovery function could even collect things like the Bronze Immortal Palace. Why would it be afraid of a mere Do-D's item? Liu expressed that collecting the heavenly tomb was as easy as taking something out of his pocket. In the ancient world, Xiao Feng was still kowtowing to his ancestors. Kid, take away the stone at the foot of the mountain on the left. The Supreme Elixir Spirit's anxious voice sounded in Xiao Feng's mind. Stone? Xiao Feng followed the Supreme Elixir Spirit's instructions and looked at the ordinary mountain rock. It was an ordinary mountain rock covered in moss. There was nothing special about it. However, since the Supreme Elixir Spirit had asked him to take it and had come so far to take it, it must be extraordinary. After kowtowing, Xiao Feng stood up. Uncle Gu. Xiao Feng turned around and looked at Gu Yuan with a sorrowful expression on his face. I came from afar just to pay my respects to my ancestors. The descendants are unworthy and have not come to pay their respects for many years. I feel guilty. Thank you for your help, Uncle Gu. Hee. You're welcome. Gu Yuan smiled and said modestly. Uncle Gu, my wish has been fulfilled. However, the rest of the family cannot come to pay their respects. I feel uneasy. Is it possible for this little nephew to bring a piece of rock back so that everyone in the family can pay homage to our ancestors? As Xiao Feng spoke, he casually pointed at a mountain rock. Of course, this mountain rock was naturally the one indicated by the Supreme Pill Spirit. What is this? Nephew, please do as you wish. It was just a stone. What was the big deal? Gu Yuan did not have any doubts at all. He waved his hand indifferently. In that case, thank you very much, Uncle Gu. Xiao Feng bowed and walked to the mountain rock. He stretched out his hand and pressed it. Keep. In the blink of an eye, the mountain rock disappeared. After the mountain rock was collected, the Supreme Pill Spirit immediately connected the stone mill to the system and handed it over to Liu. Ha 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 ha. Good. Good. All right. When Liu saw the grindstone appear in the resource warehouse, he immediately laughed out loud. Just like that, the entire ancient world's heavenly tomb was taken away by Liu. As for whether the ancient race would suspect Xiao Feng when they realized that the heavenly tomb could no longer be opened after more than 10 years, Liu thought that since he could not deal with the ancient race after more than 10 years, he could just let him die. System, destroy the heavenly tomb spirit for me. Liu recalled that there was still a heavenly tomb spirit in the heavenly tomb. It specialized in making all spiritual energy bodies kill and devour each other. At this moment, these spiritual energy bodies were all Liu's resources. How could he waste them like that? Order accepted. It was just a weapon spirit. In the face of the power of the system, it had no power to resist at all. A formless ripple swept across the grinding stone. There seemed to be a miserable shriek. The heavenly tomb spirit was destroyed just like that. Very good. Liu nodded and instructed the Supreme Pill Spirit through the remote connection. Supreme Pill Spirit, you can let Xiao Feng go back now. Yes, by the way, I'll give you the spiritual energy body and battle emperor bloodline of the Xiao clan's ancestor, Xiao Xian. You can use it to trick Xiao Feng. Since he had obtained a great harvest, he had to let the host have some soup too. Liu expressed that he was not Zhou Bapi. He was more ruthless than Zhou Bapi. Soon, Xiao Feng bade farewell to Gu Yuan. Not long after, Xiao Feng left the ancient world. Then, he met up with Ling Ying in the ancient sacred city and returned to the Jiama Empire together. Teacher, what exactly is the stone that we received on this trip to the ancient world? Half a month later, Xiao Feng returned to the Jiama Empire. After bidding farewell to Ling Ying, he asked the Supreme Pill Spirit. Of course, it's a great opportunity and a great harvest. The Grand Pill Spirit laughed. Little fellow, you have the lifetime chi of a peak do shing, lifetime combat experience, and lifetime comprehension. With this thing, your strength will soar. What? Even with Xiao Feng's calmness, he was shocked by the Supreme Pill Spirit's words. After receiving the Supreme Pill Spirit's guidance for a few years, Xiao Feng was very clear about the strength of a battle sage. An expert with such strength could already destroy mountains and break mountains, fly in the sky and burrow into the ground. More importantly, a battle sage could already open up space. If he had the lifetime strength of a battle sage, alright, it couldn't be done yet. He would explode. Even if it couldn't be done, Xiao Feng's strength would soar if he slowly absorbed it. Not to mention, there were also cultivation comprehension and combat experience. With these things, Xiao Feng didn't know how fast he would grow. It's indeed a great opportunity and a great harvest. Xiao Feng took a deep breath. His respect for the Supreme Pill Spirit was indescribable. Ever since the appearance of this teacher, his encounters had really been turned upside down. Powerful Qi method and Do technique, mysterious true sun flame, and now a Do Xing's lifetime of cultivation and experience. Xiao Feng, kid, this battle sage has a deep relationship with you. The Supreme Pill Spirit smiled and said, the person who left these things is your ancestor, Xiao Xian. It's my ancestor? Xiao Feng was shocked. Something left behind by my ancestor? Teacher, how did you know? How did you know that my ancestor left something there? TSK. I know your ancestor, can't I? The Supreme Pill Spirit snorted. Kid, this old man has seen a lot of things. I misspoke, teacher, please don't blame me. Xiao Feng smiled awkwardly. Teacher, that's not what I meant. You are naturally omniscient. But why doesn't anyone in our Xiao family know about the things left behind by our ancestor? TSK. What kind of talent does your Xiao family's younger generation have? Can you enter the ancient world? If you didn't make up a pretense, would the ancient race let you enter the ancient world? If you can't even enter after so many years, it will naturally be lost. I see. Thinking of the current situation of the Xiao family, Xiao Feng secretly sighed. Xiao Feng, kid, your Xiao family originally had the Battle Emperor bloodline, but your ancestor wanted to gather all the bloodline power of the family in an attempt to advance to the Battle Emperor realm. Unfortunately, he failed in the end. At this point, the Supreme Pill Spirit sighed. This way, your Xiao family's bloodline power is so weak that it almost doesn't exist. Your Xiao family has also declined to this day. Now, this Battle Emperor bloodline has been taken back. Battle Emperor bloodline? This time, the Battle Emperor bloodline was also taken back? This surprise made Xiao Feng unable to contain his joy. After a few years of teaching by the Supreme Pill Spirit, Xiao Feng already had a deep understanding of the cultivation world. How could he not know the importance of the Battle Emperor bloodline? Clan marks and bloodline power were the foundation of the 8 ancient clans' strength. Great! The rise of my Xiao family is right in front of us. Chapter 106. I used a trick to get my hands on the ancient world's heavenly tomb. Liu looked at the heavenly tomb in the storehouse, then smiled and shook his head. The next places I'll be targeting are all dangerous. That's why I need to make a detailed plan. Liu set his sights on the ancient ruins of the Beast region. The ancient ruins of the Beast region are located in the Skeletal Mountain Range. It's the lair of the 9 abyss pythons. The 9 abyss pythons are second only to the ancient void dragons and the heavenly demon phoenixes. Xiao Feng can't go there for now. As he pondered, Liu came up with an idea. Although Xiao Feng isn't strong enough to enter the Beast region, he can make some preparations. Liu chuckled. First, I need to get my hands on the Triple Jade Eyes and the ancient void dragon's blood. The Triple Jade Eyes is my trump card against the 9 abyss pythons. The ancient void dragon's blood is the key to opening the spiritual barrier around the dragon and phoenix skeletons. Once these preparations are complete, Xiao Feng can go to the beast region. The triple jade eyes is a maid under Xiao Yan's two older brothers. The ancient void dragon has a girl called the Brute Force Queen in Canaan Academy. These aren't hard to get. The other things in the ancient ruins are one thing. However, the ancient void dragon and ancient heavenly phoenix skeletons, as well as the peak battle saint skeletons, are all important materials for the merchant city. We can't miss them. Next, I'll get the dragon phoenix origin fruit from the dragon and phoenix skeletons. I have no use for it, but I can trade it with the dragon clan. Then, I'll be able to get to the void lightning pool from Dragon Island. That way, I'll be able to get the void lightning pool. Very good. Let's follow this plan. After making up his mind, Liu turned his attention back to the heavenly tomb. Since he'd already gotten his hands on the heavenly tomb, he naturally had to deal with it properly. Liu extracted all of the soul energy in the heavenly tomb. He extracted all of their knowledge, combat experience, cultivation insights, and pure soul energy. The rest of the energy was temporarily stored in the heavenly tomb, treating it as another energy source. The heavenly tomb also had a time acceleration function. However, Liu had the system scan it and found that it was the result of the different flow of time in different spaces. Hence, he lost interest in it. Having made his future plans clear, Liu handed over the task to the Supreme Elixir Spirit, and he continued to immerse himself in the daily life of cultivation and opening the shop. After Liu advanced to the four extremities, he wanted to transform his limbs into the four extremities of heaven and earth. Even if Liu had enough energy to cultivate, this process was not something that could be accomplished overnight. According to Liu's estimation, it would probably take another 1 or 2 years before he could cultivate the four extremes to the Great Circle realm. Xiao Feng, on the other hand, was not so comfortable. Xiao Feng, who had just returned to the Jiama Empire, once again began his arduous journey. As the Supreme Elixir Spirit had given Xiao Feng a reminder, Xiao Feng had no choice but to rush to Rock Desert City to meet with Xiao Yan's two biological brothers. This was what the Supreme Elixir Spirit had told Xiao Feng. Xiao Feng brat, since you know that the Xiao clan is one of the 8 ancient clans, since you already know that someone has designs on the ancient Emperor's Jade of the Xiao clan, aren't you going to make some preparations? Hearing the Supreme Elixir Spirit's reminder, Xiao Feng's heart jumped. He recalled that when he was in the Gu realm, Gu Yuan had used his power to force him to hand over the ancient Emperor's Jade. Although Xiao Feng did not know what the ancient Emperor's Jade was, he understood that this item probably had a great background and would definitely attract covetous eyes. Based on the Xiao clan's current situation, if any of the 8 ancient clans were to attack, the Xiao clan would only end up being exterminated. Thinking of this problem, Xiao Feng already had the plan of a crafty rabbit having 3 burrows. He also had the idea of developing his forces. This way, the 2 clan brothers who had already gone out to make a living and had already established a mercenary group had to meet each other. After a difficult journey, Xiao Feng rushed to Rock Desert City with a face covered in dust. After randomly asking a mercenary, Xiao Feng immediately found out the address of the Desert Metal Mercenary Group. After entering the city, Xiao Feng walked towards the south of the city. After turning a few streets, a huge manor that occupied an area of a few hundred acres appeared in his line of sight. The manor was built with huge rocks to form a circle of tall and thick walls, like a castle. A huge flag was erected high in the air. On the flag that fluttered in the wind, the golden words, Desert Metal Mercenary Group, shone brightly. Is this the place? Xiao Feng smiled and walked towards the manor's gate. Halt! At the gate, 2 rows of tall and strong men wearing chainmail were guarding the gate with swords and spears in their hands. Seeing Xiao Feng walk over, one of the men with a dark and yellow complexion held a long spear and blocked in front of Xiao Feng. He shouted loudly at Xiao Feng. I am Xiao Feng, from the Xiao clan of Wuyuan City. Please inform the two captains that someone from the clan has come. Xiao Feng shouted at the man who blocked his way. Xiao Feng? Are you a member of the captain's clan? Please wait a moment, I will immediately inform the two captains. The man replied, then turned and ran back into the manor. After a moment, the manor's gate opened. Two tall and sturdy young men walked out from the manor. Ha ha! Xiao Feng, you are here? Quick! Come in quickly! Xiao Li laughed loudly and shouted at Xiao Feng the moment he stepped out of the door. Good lad, I haven't seen you for a few years, and you have grown up. Xiao Ding came forward and nodded at Xiao Feng, praising, We received a letter from the clan saying that you have turned over a new leaf. Not bad. Not bad. Greetings to the two clan brothers. Xiao Feng smiled and greeted the two of them. Then, the three of them chatted and laughed as they walked into the manor. Sitting down in the living room, the three of them drank wine and talked about their daily lives. After that, Xiao Feng told the two of them about leaving a way out for the Xiao clan and his considerations of a crafty rabbit having 3 burrows. Xiao Ding and Xiao Li had been working in the mercenary group for many years and had long fallen in love with this line of work. When they heard Xiao Feng's thoughts, they immediately hit it off and prepared to continue expanding the mercenary group to create a real force. After they finished talking, the three of them continued to drink. In the end, Xiao Ding and Xiao Li both rolled under the table. Xiao Feng was still not drunk, and his expression did not change at all. With Xiao Feng's current strength and the tyrannical body cultivated by the Vajra arts, a mere bit of wine was nothing to Xiao Feng. Young Master Xiao Feng, do you need to rest? At this moment, the manor's servant girl had already sent the drunk Xiao Ding and Xiao Li back. Only a delicate and pretty young lady was left standing beside Xiao Feng. All right. Sorry to trouble you. Xiao Feng smiled at the servant girl and followed her to the room. As they walked, Xiao Feng suddenly realized that there were some green scales on the young lady's white wrist. Were these snake scales? Xiao Feng was curious about the young lady's identity. Chapter 107. Master Xiao Feng. As if noticing Xiao Feng's gaze, the maid hurriedly retracted her wrist into her sleeve and lowered her head in self-abasement. I am a hybrid of Naga and human. Very beautiful scales. Xiao Feng saw the scales on the maid's wrist and smiled. How can a lowly bloodline like mine be called beautiful? The maid's head lowered even more. Don't ask about the origin of a hero. You are not born in the hands of others, but the future is in your own hands. Why do you feel inferior? Xiao Feng gently comforted the maid. Over the years, Naga and human have fought and killed each other, and rape and pillage are not uncommon. So, whether it is human or Naga, this kind of hybrid tragedy happens from time to time. Thank you. The maid looked up at Xiao Feng and smiled. There seemed to be 3 strange spots flashing slightly in her green eyes. So this is the triple jade eyes? Not bad. Li Yu saw this scene through the system connection and quickly ordered the system, remote scan the triple flower eyes. Command accepted. The invisible wave used the supreme elixir spirit as a relay point and launched a remote scan, silently sweeping over the little maid. In an instant, the scan result of the triple flower eyes appeared in Li Yu's mind. This is the triple flower eyes? Shouldn't it be called Sharingan? Seeing the complete pattern of the triple flower eyes given by the system, Li Yu was obviously stunned. On the pattern in front of him, there were 3 mysterious dark green petal-shaped runes around the green eyes. This shape and structure was very similar to the Sharingan in a certain anime that Li Yu had seen in the past. 3-Tomo Sharingan. This is obviously a 3-Tomo Sharingan, right? Li Yu couldn't help but ridicule again. Supreme Elixir Spirit, let Xiao Feng ask the maid for a drop of blood as a sample. I want to analyze the triple blue eyes flower pupils. After scanning the information of the triple flower eyes and adding a drop of blood as a sample, with the system's ability, it was completely possible to create the triple flower eyes or analyze its abilities. With this, it would be much easier for Xiao Feng to deal with the 9 abyss python in the beast region. It would be much more convenient for Li Yu to obtain the remains of the dragon and phoenix in the ancient ruins. What? You want me to ask her for a drop of blood? At this moment, when Xiao Feng heard the Supreme Pill Spirit's request, the expression on his face was extremely strange. Teacher, this kind of request. How can I ask for it? It's not like I want her life. It's just a drop of blood. So what? That girl has a special constitution, and her ability will be very helpful to you in the future. This old man is trying to help you, so don't be ungrateful. It's fine if you don't want it. The Supreme Elixir Spirit snorted heavily. He seemed to be very angry. It was as if Xiao Feng was really a dog biting Lu Dongbin. All right. The Supreme Elixir Spirit had always been reliable. No matter what the Supreme Elixir Spirit wanted to do, in the end, Xiao Feng would benefit greatly. Xiao Feng had no choice but to comply with this request. Xiao Feng walked in front of the maid and rubbed his head in embarrassment. His expression was a bit awkward as he said to the maid, "Miss, could you give me a drop of blood?" The maid was stunned. She couldn't help but take 2 steps back. She looked at Xiao Feng with an extremely strange gaze. Miss, don't panic. I'm an apothecary. I want to see if I can find a solution to your bloodline problem. After all, people like you are innocent. Xiao Feng let out a long sigh. A compassionate expression appeared on his face. Haha. Not bad. Not bad. You're quite good at pretending. The Supreme Elixir Spirit laughed strangely, making the corner of Xiao Feng's mouth twitch a few times. He cursed in his heart. If it wasn't for your request, would I be able to deceive people like this? I'm also very guilty, okay? So, it's like this. When the maid heard Xiao Feng's words, she immediately admired Xiao Feng. She only felt that the image of Xiao Feng in front of her was so tall, and his character was so noble. Young Master Xiao Feng was really a good person. The little handmaiden took out a small knife and made a cut on her finger. Bright red blood with a hint of green color immediately flowed out of the cut. Thank you, miss. Xiao Feng hurriedly took out a pill bottle and caught the blood dripping from the maid's finger. Enough. Enough. After catching more than 10 drops of blood, Xiao Feng stopped. He reached out and took out a bit of blood-clotting powder and sprinkled it on the maid's wound. A moment later, the wound on the maid's hand healed. It's amazing! When the maid saw the healed wound on her hand, she admired Xiao Feng even more. After getting the blood and putting it into the ring, the Supreme Elixir Spirit immediately handed it over to Li Yu. System: analyze the triple flower eyes. With the blood sample and the scanned information of the triple flower eyes, Li Yu immediately let the system begin to analyze. Analysis completed. The system quickly completed the analysis work and submitted the result to Li Yu. A special physique, caused by the mutation of the bloodline? This thing seems to be somewhat similar to the Kekkei Genkai of the Sharingan. Forget it, don't think too much. Li Yu smiled and shook his head, and then gave the system an order. System, can you directly give the triple flower eyes the ability to confuse the mind and control the snake-type magical beast without relying on the mutation of the bloodline? It can be done. There are 3 solutions. First, in the form of equipment, create a prop with the corresponding ability. Second, in the form of clan tattoo, create an inscription with the corresponding ability. Third, directly give the corresponding skill. Oh, there are 3 ways: equipment, inscription, skill? Damn, system, are you sure this is not a game? The current plan is the best plan. The system obviously didn't understand Li Yu's ridicule, and its voice was as rigid as ever. Okay. First of all, the clan tattoo is excluded. Xiao Feng already has the Xiao clan tattoo, so there is no need to have another one. There is not much difference between equipment and skills. It's better to use skills. When used together with the Thunder Demon mantra, the power will be stronger. Thinking of this, Xiao Feng has already made a decision. System: connect to the Supreme Elixir Spirit and prepare to give Xiao Feng the ability of Triple Flower Eyes. In the mercenary group's encampment, Xiao Feng followed the little maid into the room. After the little maid left, the Supreme Elixir Spirit emerged from Xiao Feng's ring. Haha boy, this time you have made a big bargain. As soon as the Supreme Elixir Spirit appeared, he laughed and said to Xiao Feng, "Sensei, what ability does that girl have? You deliberately want me to ask her for a drop of blood?" Xiao Feng smiled bitterly and shook his head. "Now I have no choice but to lie. Of course it's a good thing. Triple Flower Eyes has the ability to confuse the mind and control snake-type magical beasts. It will be very helpful to you." The Supreme Elixir Spirit glanced at Xiao Feng with an expression that said it was for his own good. "Thank you, Sensei." Xiao Feng was very touched by the Supreme Elixir Spirit's enthusiastic help. "Okay. With the girl's blood sample, I have already extracted her ability. I will give you this ability now." With that, the Supreme Elixir Spirit waved at Xiao Feng, and two dark green lights flashed and merged into Xiao Feng's eyes. Hiss! Xiao Feng sucked in a breath of cold air in pain, and only opened his eyes after a long while. Around Xiao Feng's pitch-black eyes, 3 dark gold runes flashed before disappearing. Chapter 108. This is the story of a bonfire. Unknowingly, the number of words written has already reached 1,000,000. My fingers danced, and the kacha sound of the keyboard was like a melodious piano piece, playing a movement that belonged to me. My blood was burning, and my passion was soaring. It was as if I was strolling in a snowy field. When I suddenly looked back, there was a string of clear footprints behind me. From confirming the title of the book, uploading the first chapter, the first click, the first recommendation, the first collection, the first gift, the past was vivid in my mind. When I looked back, I actually felt a little emotional. This book was my heart's blood. It was like a bonfire on a cold, snowy night, warming my heart and illuminating my path forward. If this book was a bonfire, then my editor, Boss Qilin, was the person who gave me the spark. The story of the horse and Bo Lu was well known. Without the appreciation of Bo Lu, even if one had the ability to travel 1,000 miles in a day and 800 miles in a night, one could only be trapped in a carriage or curled up in a stable. There was no opportunity to gallop on the battlefield and roam the world. However, my editor, Qilin, was not only a Bo Lu, but also a teacher. I am an old failure. If you click on my author name, you will see a long list of failed books. The concept, setting, opening, and layout of the book were all built under the guidance of the editor, Big Brother Qilin. During this process, every guidance was like pushing away the clouds and illuminating the blue sky, allowing me to understand the key points of web writing. This was the spark. The spark was not a lit match, nor was it a bright candle, nor was it a burning torch. It was the technique of drilling wood to make fire, the technique of flint to make fire. It was lifted from the masses and simplified from the trivial. Editor Qilin had recognized my talent and taught me the virtue of being a teacher. I could only be grateful to him. If Editor Qilin gave me the spark, then the readers gave me firewood. Every comment, every click, every bookmark, every recommendation, every monthly ticket, every gift, they added a handful of firewood to this bonfire, making this bonfire burn brighter and brighter. The flames were churning and burning fiercely. The blood in my heart was also burning fiercely. Both of his hands pressed on the keyboard, and the sound of the keyboard rang out again. The impassioned rhythm and jumping notes were like a galloping horse in the wilderness, like the surging waves of the sea. He looked up at the sky. The divine kingdom of the gods hung high in the sky, and the platinum throne was at the peak. Brilliant divine light illuminated the world. I turned my head to look at the bonfire beside me. I took a deep breath and clenched my fists. Many hands gather firewood, and the flames burn high. One day, this bonfire would be able to set the plains ablaze, engulf the earth, and illuminate the sky. This is my dream. I dream that one day, I will be able to ignite my divine flame, condense my godhood, establish my divine kingdom, and hold my throne high above. Divine radiance spread throughout the 3,000 realms and intimidated the heavens for 10,000 years. Brighter than the starry sky, brighter than the sun and moon. Ladies and gentlemen, please lend me a hand. Every handful of firewood can make this bonfire burn brighter, more fiercely and more passionately. When this bonfire engulfs the world, I will be crowned king. Chapter 110. In front of him was a boundless desert of yellow sand. Waves of heat waves rose, and extremely active earth and fire elemental Yuan Qi surged between heaven and earth, like waves of waves. Xiao Feng took a deep breath and felt that the dou qi in his body, which was as heavy as a mountain, seemed to have become a little more active. The golden flames in his eyes flickered, as if they had been triggered by the fire energy between heaven and earth. This Tagger Desert is indeed a good place to cultivate. Xiao Feng stepped into the yellow sand, and his heavy footsteps seemed to cause the sand dunes under his feet to tremble. Of course. The Grand Elixir Spirit's voice was as proud as ever. How could the place I have designated for you be wrong? Yes. Master is omniscient and omnipotent. Xiao Feng had long been familiar with the Grand Elixir Spirit's personality. Even a calm and serious person like him had to go along with the Grand Elixir Spirit's personality and flatter him. A year had passed. After obtaining the triple blue-eyed flower eyes, Xiao Feng continued to improve his strength under the guidance of the Grand Elixir Spirit. After fusing with the Battle Emperor bloodline, Xiao Feng began to fight monsters and level up again. He continued to fight in the Magical Beast Mountain Range, absorbing Xiao Xian's lifetime of cultivation and integrating Xiao Xian's combat experience and cultivation comprehension. With the energy supply of Xiao Xian's peak battle sage, Xiao Feng boldly opened the Great Illusionary Realm, and continued to hone his combat skills and alchemy skills in the Illusionary Realm. At this moment, Xiao Feng's strength had already advanced to the 5-star Battle King realm, and his alchemist level had also increased to the 5th grade. In just a year, he had advanced from the Battle Master realm to the Battle King realm, which was an increase of 3 major realms. The speed of his advancement was frightening. This was because Li Yu felt that Xiao Feng was too weak and could not complete the plundering mission well, so he instructed the Grand Elixir Spirit to use Xiao Xian's lifetime of cultivation to continuously improve Xiao Feng's cultivation. Xiao Xian's lifetime of cultivation was continuously broken down and refined by the Grand Elixir Spirit. The pure energy was like a blessing that continuously merged into Xiao Feng's body. If not for the fact that he was worried that Xiao Feng would explode, Xiao Feng's strength would have increased even faster. As he was treated as a test subject by Li Yu, Xiao Feng used the Buddhist Guardian Vajra technique as his main cultivation method. He cultivated the earth attribute Herculean mountain-moving scripture, which made his body as tough as Vajra and had immense strength. The mountain-moving force and immovable mountain brought by the Herculean man's mountain-moving scripture had already achieved initial success. He had also grasped the basics of Vajra Blessing Spell, Thunderous Demon Subduing Mantra, and Dragon Elephant Vajra Divine Strength. In fact, the dou qi in Xiao Feng's body could no longer be called dou qi, but Vajra magic power. Perhaps it was related to the laws of heaven and earth in this world, but Xiao Feng's Vajra mana still had the characteristics of this world's dou qi. In this way, Xiao Feng's strength was already very terrifying if he included the 3 divine abilities of the Vajra scepter. Teacher, is the green lotus earth fire you mentioned below? Xiao Feng stood beside a sand dune, looked at the concave ground in front of him, and asked the Supreme Elixir Spirit. This is the entrance. You can find the green lotus earth fire from here. The Supreme Elixir Spirit used the system's scanning function and casually scanned, and found the location of the green lotus earth fire. Because Liu was also a little curious about this world's heavenly fire, and Xiao Feng's current strength could also be taken out, Liu asked the Supreme Elixir Spirit to trick Xiao Feng into coming to look for the green lotus earth fire in the underground near Rock Desert City. Green lotus earth fire? Xiao Feng smiled and replied, I wonder how it compares to my true sun fire? The green lotus earth fire is definitely not comparable to the true sun fire. The Supreme Elixir Spirit laughed. The green lotus earth fire is ranked 19th on the heavenly fire list, and is even inferior to Shao Sun Air's gold emperor burning heaven flame. The true sun fire is at least equivalent to the number 1 emperor flame. It's actually so strong? Hearing the Supreme Elixir Spirit's words, Xiao Feng couldn't help but be speechless. With your current strength, you can't unleash the full power of the true sun fire. Wait until you're stronger, then you'll naturally know how strong the true sun fire is. The Supreme Elixir Spirit's voice revealed a sense of pride. And teacher's things are of course the strongest. Xiao Feng smiled and flattered, and lowered his head to look at the pit in front of him. Although the green lotus earth fire is useless to me, now is the time when I need to increase my family's strength. If this green lotus earth fire is given to Xiao Yan's cousin, another expert will appear in the family very quickly. The danger brought by the ancient emperor's jade was like a sharp edge on his back, and Xiao Feng didn't dare to relax at all. He could only think of ways to increase his family's strength as soon as possible. He waved his hand at the sand dune, and the accumulated yellow sand was blown away by a huge force, revealing a pitch-black tunnel. A trace of golden light flashed in his eyes, and Xiao Feng stepped into the tunnel below. Along the way, with the Supreme Elixir Spirit guiding the way, Xiao Feng didn't delay at all. After a while, Xiao Feng came to the side of a scorching lava lake. The churning lava soared up a wave of heat, and even with Xiao Feng's current cultivation, he felt his body heat up, and beads of sweat appeared on his body. Boom! The golden-yellow true sun fire suddenly exploded, turning into a huge golden fire lotus that enveloped Xiao Feng's entire body, completely isolating him from the surrounding heat wave. After isolating himself from the heat wave, Xiao Feng walked towards the lava lake. Wait, there's something in the lava. Xiao Feng was about to step into the lava lake when he suddenly heard the Supreme Elixir Spirit's reminder, causing him to be slightly stunned. There's actually something alive in the lava? I'm afraid it's some fire-type demonic beast. Xiao Feng didn't dare to be careless. He waved his hand and took out the Vajra demon subduing pestle, his heart already on alert. Boom! The lava boiled fiercely, and a huge double-headed snake-like monster rushed out of the lava. The double-headed snake's 4 blazing eyes stared at Xiao Feng. Its ferocious mouth suddenly opened wide, and 2 pillars of fire shot out like a volcanic eruption. Just a mere battle spirit, and you dare to be presumptuous in front of me? Xiao Feng snorted, and the golden fire lotus on the surface of his body suddenly expanded, and the monstrous golden flames surged like a raging tide. Boom! The golden flame waves directly submerged the 2 pillars of fire shot out by the double-headed snake. In front of the true sunfire, the flames shot out by the battle spirit realm double-headed flame spirit snake were completely insignificant. The double-headed snake was frightened by the monstrous power of the golden flame, and the flames in its 4 eyes suddenly shrank. The snake shook its body, and it turned around to escape. Trying to escape? Xiao Feng shouted. Under the eruption of his battle chi, his body flashed with golden light, and a golden armor appeared on the surface of Xiao Feng's body. Vajra demon subduing pestle. With the vast strength in his body, Xiao Feng raised the Vajra demon subduing pestle in his hand and smashed it down at the double-headed snake. The mountain-like strength ruthlessly smashed at the bifurcated neck of the double-headed snake. Bang! With a loud explosion, the red-hot magma-like snake blood burst out, and the neck of the double-headed snake was directly smashed by Xiao Feng. With a habitual wave of his hand, Xiao Feng kept the corpse of the double-headed snake into his ring. In fact, this was just the system's recovery function. Kid, if you want to find the Green Lotus Earthfire, you'd better hurry, because someone is coming. Isn't it a human? Chapter 111. Swoosh. Swoosh. The speed of the person was extremely fast. The sound of something breaking through the air could be heard as a figure rushed over with the whistling of the wind. Not long after, a figure appeared in front of Xiao Feng. She was a peerlessly beautiful woman. Her figure was tall and graceful with a slim waist. She wore colorful clothes, and her peerlessly beautiful face carried a noble and dignified aura of someone who had lived above others for a long time. Kid, this is the overlord of the Tarkal Desert, Queen Medusa of the Snake People tribe. She has the strength of a peak Do Huang. You must be careful. The Supreme Pill Spirit's warning rang in Xiao Feng's mind as soon as the beautiful woman appeared. Human, you dare to have designs on the Green Lotus Hellfire? You're courting death. Queen Medusa glanced at Xiao Feng and raised her eyebrows. Her eyes were wide open as she extended her slender finger and pointed at Xiao Feng. Swoosh! A dazzling purple light rushed out from the tip of his finger and transformed into a huge snake shadow. It shot towards Xiao Feng at high speed. Do Huang. Xiao Feng was already prepared after receiving the Supreme Pill Spirit's warning. Seeing Queen Medusa's attack, Xiao Feng let out a loud roar and a brilliant golden light bloomed. Vajra's glare, demons avoid it. A Sanskrit sound rang out as the Vajra blessing spell covered his body. A golden armor appeared on the surface of his body with a brilliant golden light. Xiao Feng's body was shining with golden light as if he was a god in golden armor. Moving Mountain Seal. Xiao Feng held the Vajra scepter in his left hand and let out a loud roar. He held the moving mountain seal with his right hand and blasted it out. It was as if a huge mountain had been pushed out by this handprint, and the tremendous force caused the entire underground cave to shake violently. Boom! Medusa's purple snake shadow and Xiao Feng's moving mountain seal collided with each other with a loud bang. A huge shockwave spread out and swept across the entire underground cave. Countless stone pillars exploded with a loud bang. Dust and gravel flew in all directions. Under this attack, the two of them were actually evenly matched. They were equally matched. Haha! Awesome! Xiao Feng let out a hearty laugh as the fighting spirit in his heart surged to his chest. Xiao Feng's powerful body, Do Qi cultivation of the Do Wang realm, and the support of the Vajra blessing curse, made Xiao Feng's fighting strength no weaker than Medusa, who was at the peak of the Do Huang realm. Take one of my moves too. Xiao Feng swung his left hand and took the Vajra exorcism pestle from his left hand with his right hand. He spun his body and swung the Vajra exorcism pestle in a circle. A dazzling golden light burst out and swept toward Medusa. Vajra wield staff, sweep away the demons. An awe-inspiring divine power erupted from the Vajra pestle, and a thin yet vast power swept across the land. Invincible! It was unstoppable! He's actually this strong? Queen Medusa frowned and clasped her hands together. A dazzling purple light shot out from the top of her head, turning into a giant snake that reached the heavens and the earth. Roar! The giant purple snake let out an earth-shattering roar. The snake's shadow spiraled down, forming a huge coiling snake array around Medusa's body. Bang! A muffled loud sound rang out. The Vajra demon subduing pestle, which emitted a dazzling golden light, heavily smashed onto the spiraling purple snake's shadow. Hiss hiss, the spiraling purple snake's shadow emitted a huge hiss. It seemed that this snake's shadow had been hurt by Xiao Feng's attack, and was howling in pain. A trace of pain seemed to have flashed across Queen Medusa's exceptional face. Her pair of purple-black eyes became bone-chilling. Sky snake dance. Medusa let out a delicate cry. Her purple hair moved without any wind. Each strand of hair was like an extremely tiny snake, crazily twisting and dancing behind her head. A wave of ice-cold and enormous energy erupted from Medusa's body. Her hair fluttered, appearing like tens of thousands of small snakes as they flew toward Xiao Feng in a continuous and densely packed manner. This kind of attack was like a rain of arrows. Regardless of whether one dodged or parried, it was impossible to completely block it. Once one was hit by these strands of hair, not to mention the lethality of the dou qi, just the snake venom alone was not something that an ordinary person could withstand. However, Xiao Feng was not afraid at all. Sun Fire Lotus. The brilliant sun shone over the world. The brilliant golden light illuminated the entire underground space. A monstrous fire surged. Medusa's flying strands of hair collided with the raging flames. Immediately, waves of miserable cries rang out. It was as if countless small snakes were being burned by the raging flames, causing them to scream incessantly. Damn it! Medusa's face turned pale. She hurriedly retracted her flying strands of hair. When she retracted her hair, her long hair, which was like a waterfall, was scattered and dragged to the ground. However, the tip of this cloud-like hair, which was about a foot long, was already burnt yellow. Humph! Medusa shook her head slightly. Her burnt yellow hair immediately fell off. Human, since you already have the heavenly flame, why do you still want the green lotus earth fire? Are all humans so greedy? Seeing that Xiao Feng was not to be trifled with and that fighting would not solve the problem, Medusa could only negotiate. In a world where strength was respected, the first thing one would think of to solve a problem was strength. Only when strength could not solve a problem would one use words to negotiate. What does it have to do with you what I want the green lotus earth fire for? Xiao Feng snorted coldly and stopped. When he was fighting with Medusa, who was at the peak of the Do Huang level, Xiao Feng did not seem to be at a disadvantage and could even be said to have gained a small advantage. However, his dou qi was greatly depleted. If he continued to fight, he would not be able to hold on for long. The green lotus earth fire is very important to me. I will definitely not give up. If you can't back down, then... Medusa's ice-cold eyes gradually revealed the characteristics of a snake's eyes. If you can't back down, then I can only fight to the death. Haha. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Xiao Feng smiled indifferently. He raised his dou qi and was about to attack when the Supreme Elixir Spirit's voice suddenly appeared in his mind. Xiao Feng, brat, don't attack first. Tell her that she can evolve without using the green lotus earth fire. You can help her. Evolve? Medusa wants the green lotus earth fire for evolution? Hearing the Supreme Elixir Spirit's words, Xiao Feng nodded. He raised his head and looked at Medusa. Xiao Feng continued, aren't you so nervous about the green lotus earth fire for evolution? If you want to evolve, why do you need the green lotus earth fire? I can help you. Originally, when she heard Xiao Feng say the word evolve, Medusa was already prepared to fight with her life on the line. She did not expect that Xiao Feng would actually say, I can help you. This caused Medusa to be stunned. Humans are all incomparably treacherous. Are you so kind? Medusa laughed coldly. She did not believe Xiao Feng's words. Did you see the flame that I released just now? Xiao Feng followed the Supreme Elixir Spirit's instructions. As he spoke, he stretched out his finger. A golden flame flickered on his fingertip. Feel it carefully. Feel the difference of my flame. The brilliance of the brilliant sun shone. In addition to the grand aura, there was also a vast aura that illuminated the earth and bred all living things. There's actually such a flame? Medusa was very shocked by Xiao Feng's golden flame. If she had the help of this flame, her chances of evolving would be greatly increased. However, how could she make this person sincerely help her? Chapter 112. Human. Medusa raised her head and looked at Xiao Feng. The aura on her body slowly retracted. I can stop fighting with you for the Green Lotus Hellfire. However, you can't make me trust you. If she used Xiao Feng's flame to evolve, her life and death would be completely in Xiao Feng's hands. If he harbored any evil intentions, Medusa would probably die without leaving a trace. Queen Medusa had controlled the Snake Men tribe for many years. As a superior, how could she not have this bit of knowledge? How could she easily put her life and death in the hands of others? What suggestion does the queen have? Since Medusa had brought up this problem, she naturally had a way to solve it. Xiao Feng directly asked Medusa. It's very simple. Medusa reached out and pulled out a strand of hair, holding it in her hand. This strand of hair contains my snake venom. Tie this strand of hair around your wrist. At this point, Medusa paused and raised her head to look at Xiao Feng, a smile appearing on her face. If you didn't play any tricks during my evolution, this strand of hair wouldn't have touched you. If you dare to play any tricks, the snake venom will enter your body, and your entire body will immediately turn into a pool of pus and blood. Xiao Feng looked at the strand of hair in Medusa's hand and was speechless for a long time. Teacher, do you really want me to accept this thing? If I put such a dangerous thing on my body, what if Medusa kills me? Wouldn't I die in vain? Just a moment ago, Xiao Feng suddenly heard the Supreme Elixir Spirit asking him to accept Medusa's conditions. This made Xiao Feng feel that it was inconceivable. If not for the confidence that the Supreme Elixir Spirit had always brought to Xiao Feng would probably even have the thought of cursing his mother at this moment. Actually, the Supreme Elixir Spirit's actions were completely because of Li Yu, the mastermind behind the scenes. Seeing Medusa appear, Li Yu thought of the seven-colored heaven-devouring python that Medusa had evolved into. Li Yu's interest was piqued. He wanted to see how Medusa evolved. Then, Xiao Feng could only bitterly endure. TSK. How could mere snake venom stump this old man? You can take whatever you want. Let's see if she can touch you. Hearing Xiao Feng's question, the Supreme Elixir Spirit sneered in disdain. In fact, that was indeed the case. If Medusa really wanted to poison him, the Supreme Pill Spirit would directly use the system's recovery function to recycle and decompose the poison. It would not affect Xiao Feng at all. Alright. The Supreme Alchemy Spirit's usual disdainful tone made Xiao Feng more confident. Alright, since the teacher had already guaranteed that there would be no problem, then there would naturally be no problem. I accept your conditions. Xiao Feng helplessly listened to the Supreme Elixir Spirit's command. Alright. A strange light flashed in Medusa's eyes. She walked up to Xiao Feng and wrapped her hair around Xiao Feng's wrist. Done. Medusa released her hand and looked up at Xiao Feng. Even with Medusa's cold arrogance and profoundness, she admired Xiao Feng's straightforward and forthright manner. This person is unexpectedly a good person. Medusa secretly nodded in her heart and silently remembered this favor. If she could successfully evolve this time, she would have a chance to repay him in the future. Next, please release your deviant flame. I want to borrow your deviant flame to purify my bloodline. Medusa nodded at Xiao Feng and then began to take off her clothes. Hey, still like this? Xiao Feng's eyeballs were about to pop out. You wish. Medusa rolled her eyes. Purple light erupted from her body. Her entire body was enveloped in a dense purple brilliance. Only the clothes that flew out seemed to reveal a trace of curvature in the purple light. Release your deviant flame. Medusa's voice came from within the purple light. It seemed to have a trace of urgency. Alright. Xiao Feng focused his mind and waved his hand to release the true sun fire. The surging flames turned into a sea of fire. Roar! Suddenly, a loud roar resounded from within the purple light. A gigantic purple snake, over 100 feet long, darted out from the purple light. It raised its head and roared towards the sky. Then, it rushed into the sea of fire formed by the grand sun flame released by Xiao Feng. Roar! 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 In the surging sea of fire, the huge purple snake wriggled in the flames. It was like a flood dragon's brain. It could be described in another way. Like a loach thrown into boiling water, the huge purple snake wriggled, struggled, and roared crazily in the sea of fire. Wisps of black smoke rose from the huge purple snake's body. It was as if many things on its body were burned into black smoke and dissipated in the world. Waves of intense and painful roars came out. The huge purple snake kept shrinking. Its body kept shrinking. It seemed as if countless pieces of flesh and bones were burned into black smoke. This is evolution? Xiao Feng looked at the struggling purple snake in the sea of fire. The corner of his mouth twitched. When he first obtained the true sunfire, Xiao Feng felt as if his entire body was about to ignite and burn to ashes. Even now, he still had lingering fears. Thinking of that miserable state and comparing it to the current state of the huge purple snake, Xiao Feng secretly rejoiced. The current situation was that even a peak Do Huang would be burned to death by the true sunfire. At that time, he was only a doge. If not for his teacher's help, he would have been burned to ashes before he could fuse with the true sunfire. In fact, Xiao Feng was wrong. Although Li Yu only gave Xiao Feng a trace of the true sunfire, its power could not be underestimated. If not for the system fusing with the true sunfire, Xiao Feng would have been burned to ashes even if he got close. As for now, this is Medusa's evolution? Is it not snake meat barbecued? Li Yu's eyes twitched when he saw this. The power of the true sunfire was terrifying. Although Xiao Feng's true sunfire was only a trace of the true sunfire that Li Yu pulled out from the immortal abode in Merchant City, its power was not inferior to the heavenly flames of this world. System, according to the collected information, analyze the possibility of Medusa's evolution. Analysis complete. According to the collected data, the probability of Medusa evolving into a rainbow heaven-devouring python is 10%. 10% chance. The chances of a successful evolution are not high. Li Yu nodded and then asked, System, have you analyzed the principle of Medusa's evolution? According to the current information, Medusa's evolution is because she has a trace of the rainbow heaven-devouring python's bloodline. Through the flame, the impurities are removed and her bloodline is purified. So it's like that. Li Yu looked at the huge snake struggling in the flames and shook his head slightly. Poor fellow. Forget it, I'll give you some benefits. Li Yu took out a bit of the holy spring water from the resource warehouse and let the system connect through a remote connection to directly melt this bit of holy spring water into Medusa's body. The holy spring water contained life and death, flesh and bones, and a huge amount of vitality. Medusa's eyes suddenly bloomed with brilliant light. Roar! A loud roar sounded, and Medusa's body bloomed with colorful light. The charred body of the snake exploded, and a colorful stream of light rushed out of the flames. Chapter 113. Is the evolution complete? When Xiao Feng saw the rainbow light shoot up, he hurriedly retracted the grand sun primordial flame. The flame dissipated, and the seven-colored light was wriggling in the air. Colorful clouds of mist floated in the air, gathering and dispersing randomly. As the haze rolled, a 3-foot-long rainbow snake crawled out of the haze. Its body was slender and smooth, and its smooth and dense scales were overflowing with colors. On its slightly raised head, a rainbow halo was faintly discernible, revealing a noble and gorgeous expression. The seven-colored snake swooped down and landed on the ground. The seven-colored haze once again surged and turned into a dense seven-colored fog. There was the sound of clothes being put on. After a while, the haze dissipated, revealing a mature woman turned into a beautiful girl? When Liu saw this, his eyes widened. She became smaller after evolving? Forget it, I don't care. System, record the information of Medusa's evolution and the rainbow heaven devouring python's bloodline. After Liu glanced at it, he lost interest. He closed the system and ignored it. But Xiao Feng couldn't ignore it. When he saw the beautiful girl walking out of the rainbow haze, saw the purplish-black hair that flickered with rainbow halos, looked at the rainbow haze in her eyes, and looked at the delicate face, Xiao Feng was greatly shocked. Have you evolved successfully? Xiao Feng took a deep breath, collected his thoughts, and asked the beautiful girl in front of him. Yes, the evolution is successful. Medusa nodded and walked in front of Xiao Feng. With a gentle wave of her hand, the hair around Xiao Feng's wrist turned into ashes and fell off. Actually, Medusa raised her head and looked at Xiao Feng. A bright smile appeared on her face. Actually, that strand of hair is not poisonous. Yes. Also, thank you. If not for your help, I wouldn't have been able to evolve successfully. It's nothing. It's good that I was able to help you. Xiao Feng smiled and waved his hand dismissively. Xiao Feng thought that Medusa's gratitude was because of the grand sun primordial flame. However, Medusa thanked him for the life force that was poured into her body at the crucial moment. He really wants to help me? Although Queen Medusa was cold and arrogant, she was still a woman. Any woman, no matter how strong or powerful she was, would always hope that there would be someone who truly cared about her and would sincerely help her. However, she had clearly misunderstood. The green lotus hellfire is below. Medusa pointed at the magma lake before turning her head and smiling sweetly at Xiao Feng. Let me show you the way. As she spoke, Medusa waved her hand and a seven-colored mist spread out, transforming into a light screen that enveloped her entire body. Medusa walked to the edge of the magma lake and turned around to glance at Xiao Feng. Let's go. I'm coming. They're here. Xiao Feng was obviously not used to the changes in Medusa. Initially, she was yelling about killing him, but now she was so enthusiastic. This surprised him. Walking towards the magma lake, the grand sun primordial flame transformed into a fire lotus that enveloped his entire body. Xiao Feng followed behind Medusa and entered the magma lake. As they walked along the magma lake, the surrounding temperature got higher and higher. Gradually, even the magma showed a green color. The color of the magma became greener and greener. In the end, the verdant magma was like a jade-green lake. In this jade-green magma lake, a huge green lotus blossomed with green light as it stood upright in the magma lake. The green lotus had 8 lotus petals that were crystal clear as if they were carved out of jade. In the center of the green lotus, there was a 3-foot lotus platform. There were some protruding holes on the lotus platform, and within the holes, there were spots of fluorescent light. They were plump and crisp lotus seed. In the middle of the lotus platform, there was a fist-sized hole. Within it, a cluster of jade-green flames burned brightly. Boundless clear light shone, illuminating the surroundings in a jade-green color. Is this the green lotus hellfire? Seeing the green flames shining on the lotus platform, Xiao Feng smiled and nodded. It is indeed extraordinary. As he approached the green lotus, Medusa suddenly blocked in front of him. What do you mean? Xiao Feng was shocked. He thought that Medusa had changed her mind and wanted to snatch the green lotus hellfire. However, he realized that Medusa was pointing below the green lotus, as if reminding him of something. Xiao Feng looked in the direction that Medusa was pointing and realized that there were countless slender roots extending from below the lotus platform. The roots were about 3 feet long and densely packed with small tentacles. These roots swayed slightly and crazily absorbed the violent fire attribute energy in the surrounding magma. So you are reminding me. Xiao Feng smiled and nodded at Medusa. However, with the grand sun primordial flame in hand, How could he be afraid of these green lotus roots? Xiao Feng was about to step closer to this green lotus when he suddenly heard the Supreme Elixir Spirit's voice. Kid, just store that green lotus directly into your ring. The Supreme Elixir Spirit prompted in Xiao Feng's mind. Store into the ring? Teacher, won't this burn all the other things in the ring? Such a ferocious flame, Xiao Feng really did not dare to casually store it into the ring. Do you think that my ring is an ordinary storage ring, or something like that? You can rest assured. All right then. Xiao Feng followed the Supreme Elixir Spirit's instructions and waved his hand at the green lotus in front. An invisible undulation swept past. The green lotus instantly disappeared. When Medusa saw Xiao Feng's action, she was shocked until her eyes went wide. Deviant flames can also be stored into the storage ring? Even the storage ring is going to explode, right? Glancing at the bronze ring in Xiao Feng's hand and not discovering anything unusual, Medusa suppressed the doubts in her heart and waved at Xiao Feng. Then, she rushed out of the lava lake. After a moment, the two people passed through the lava lake and advanced along the underground tunnel, returning to the surface once again. Wuyuan City. Liu looked at the green lotus earth fire handed over by the Supreme Elixir Spirit. A trace of a smile appeared at the corners of his mouth. System, scan the green lotus earth fire. Analyze the green lotus earth fire. The green lotus earth fire was of no use to Liu, but he was still somewhat interested in what was going on with this so-called deviant flame. Scan complete. Analysis complete. After the system's old-fashioned and cold voice sounded out, it directly transmitted the analysis result to Liu's mind. Lava earth fire was absorbed by the green lotus. The earth fire and the green lotus would attribute energy fused and mutated into a flame? So that's how it is. Liu chuckled, expressing that he could have as many of these things as he wanted. Go and do wholesale next time? Among the 9 layers of flames in the store space, the first layer was lava earth fire. The 7th layer, 5 elements true fire, had 5 elements wood fire. As long as the 2 were fused, it would be green lotus earth fire. This green lotus that grew in lava earth fire is rather extraordinary. Liu's interest in the green lotus itself was greater than the deviant flame. This kind of peculiar plant was very suitable to be planted in the Immortal Estate's garden. System, leave that green lotus behind. Give the other things to the Supreme Elixir Spirit. Chapter 114. Xiao Family Courtyard. Yao Lao, is this the mysterious flame you were talking about? Xiao Yin looked at the white flame in Yao Lao's hand and felt the vast power within the flame. Xiao Yin was shocked. Yes, this is the mysterious flame. Yao Lao proudly raised his head. Seeing Xiao Yan's expression, Yao Lao felt very comfortable. Ever since he woke up, every time Yao Lao talked to Xiao Yan, he would always be shocked. He taught him the profound level Do skill, level 8 collapse, but his brother had already taught him. He taught him how to refine foundation elixir, and his brother had already taught him. He had actually taught him how to differentiate medicinal herbs, how to collect medicinal herbs, and how to store medicinal herbs. Yao Lao had seen that so-called brother before. He was only a level 2 alchemist. However, Yao Lao found himself in the hands of a mere level 2 alchemist. At this moment, after releasing the mysterious flame, Yao Lao finally regained his confidence. This is the mysterious flame. Yao Lao chuckled, showing off to Xiao Yan as he said, as a pharmacist, a mystical flame is a treasure that I yearn for even in my dreams. However, the mysterious flame is extremely rare. Alchemists who can obtain it are all top alchemists. At this point, Yao Lao turned his head and looked at Xiao Yan. Little kid, it is very difficult to obtain the mysterious flame. It is something that can only be encountered and not sought. Cousin. Xiao Yan cousin. At this moment, there was a call from outside the door. Brother Feng? You're back? Hearing the familiar voice outside the door, Xiao Yan jumped up in surprise. Humph! Hearing that Xiao Feng had returned, Yao Lao felt a burst of anger in his heart. He coldly snorted and turned into a ray of light, returning to the ring on Xiao Yan's hand. Brother Feng. Xiao Yan reached out to open the door and welcomed Xiao Feng into the room. Cousin, brother brought back some good things for you. As soon as he entered the door, Xiao Feng eagerly said to Xiao Yan, Cousin, your cultivation is already at the Doja realm, right? You're about to become an alchemist, right? This gift is just right for you. What gift? Xiao Yan was overjoyed when he heard Xiao Feng's words. TSK. What kind of gift could he give? At most, it was just some ordinary medicinal herbs. Don't tell me he can still take out a strange flame? Yao Lao grumbled in Xiao Yan's mind. Cousin, I found a deviant flame for you. After you become an alchemist, this deviant flame will be of great help to you. As Xiao Feng spoke, he touched his ring and a palm-sized bronze box appeared in his hand. Strange flame. Xiao Yan's eyebrows jumped. He had just spoken to Yao Lao about the deviant flame, and now a deviant flame had come knocking on his door? This was too much of a coincidence. Ha 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 ha. Heavenly flame? A strange flame in a box. In Xiao Yan's mind, Yao Lao's mocking laughter rang out. If this cousin of yours isn't lying to you, then he must have been deceived. How powerful was the heavenly flame? How can it be stored in a copper box? Under normal circumstances, Yao Lao's judgment was correct. However, with the interference of this abnormal guy, Li Yu, this world had long been abnormal. Li Yu kept the green lotus and realized that Xiao Feng didn't have anything that could store the strange flame. Li Yu could only use the broken bronze from the Buddhist artifact to make a box that could store the strange flame. This time, Li Yu was careful and limited it to only being able to store the strange flame. There were no other functions. However, this was already very terrifying. This is the green lotus hellfire. Xiao Feng stretched out his hand and opened the bronze box. A green flame surged out and the temperature of the room instantly became incomparably hot. As the monstrous heat wave approached, Xiao Yan retreated a few steps before he could catch his breath. Sorry. Xiao Feng hurriedly closed the box, covering the monstrous heat wave. Xiao Feng smiled apologetically at Xiao Yan. Hee, your current cultivation is still unable to withstand the heat of the strange flame. Don't worry, when your cultivation is higher, you will be able to fuse with this strange flame. As he spoke, Xiao Feng handed the bronze box to Xiao Yan. Thank you, Brother Feng. Xiao Yan was extremely grateful. This cousin of his was really too good to him. Even something like the strange flame could be casually given away. Xiao Yan was already sure that the box in his hand contained the strange flame. Because the voice in his mind kept shouting in a daze, this is impossible. It's really the green lotus hellfire? It's really the strange flame? How is this possible? In fact, although the green lotus hellfire was a good thing, it was useless to Xiao Feng. Xiao Feng, who was tricked by Li Yu into walking the path of the guardian Vajra, did not cultivate the flame incantation, which could absorb the strange flame. In addition, he already had the stronger true sun flame, so the green lotus hellfire was useless to him. After Li Yu analyzed the green lotus hellfire, he also lost interest in it. So, this kind of exceptionally precious treasure had become something that no one was interested in. After knowing that the matter of the ancient emperor's jade would bring danger to the family, Xiao Feng was thinking of ways to increase the family's strength. This green lotus hellfire was naturally given to Xiao Yan, who was suitable to use the strange flame. What are you thanking me for? We are all brothers. Xiao Feng laughed heartily and patted Xiao Yan's shoulder. His face suddenly became serious. Cousin, I still have something to give you. This is related to the origin of our Xiao family. You must not tell anyone. Seeing Xiao Feng's serious expression, Xiao Yan also nodded solemnly. Our Xiao family is one of the 8 ancient clans. We once had the Battle Emperor's bloodline. 8 ancient clans? Battle Emperor's bloodline? Before Xiao Feng could finish his words, the voice in Xiao Yan's mind suddenly let out a horrified cry. Hearing this cry, Xiao Yan's expression became even more serious. Although the Ring Grandpa felt a little outdated, his knowledge was extraordinary. To be able to scare him to this extent, this 8 ancient clans and the Battle Emperor's bloodline must be extraordinary. Cousin, I was fortunate enough to obtain the ancestors' inheritance during this trip. I will now pass the ancestors' inheritance and the Battle Emperor's bloodline to you. Xiao Feng followed the instructions of the Supreme Pill Spirit and pointed a finger at Xiao Yan's forehead, transmitting the Skyfire 3 mysterious change into Xiao Yan's mind. After a long while, Xiao Yan shook his head and regained consciousness. Seeing the mysterious technique in his mind, Xiao Yan was surprised and happy. Get ready, I will now pass the Battle Emperor's bloodline to you. The Battle Emperor's bloodline was the same as the Green Lotus Hellfire. After being analyzed by Li Yu, he found that it was far inferior to his innate holy body Dao embryo, so he lost interest. Xiao Xian's blood pool in the heavenly tomb was filled with the Battle Emperor's bloodline. After Xiao Feng obtained the Battle Emperor's bloodline, there was still some bloodline power left in the blood pool. In order to strengthen the family and deal with possible crises, Xiao Feng also passed the Battle Emperor's bloodline to his cousin, who was on good terms with him and had extraordinary talent. Xiao Feng followed the instructions of the Supreme Pill Spirit and waved at Xiao Yan. A thick blood mist enveloped Xiao Yan. The vast bloodline power instantly rushed into Xiao Yan's body. The intense pain made Xiao Yan let out a tragic cry. Fortunately, the Supreme Pill Spirit was prepared. As soon as the sound rushed out, it was blocked by a light screen. Not long after, the blood mist dissipated. Xiao Yan's body bloomed with a brilliant brilliance, standing upright in the room with his head held high. Is this the Battle Emperor's bloodline? Feeling the vast and majestic bloodline power in his body, Xiao Yan beamed with joy. Yao Lao, how's the gift my cousin brought back? Xiao Yan teased Yao Lao in his heart. Yao Lao was speechless. He could only roar in his heart. Get lost. I don't want to talk to you rich people. Chapter 115. The next morning, Xiao Feng set off again. In order to increase the strength of his family, Xiao Feng thought of many ways. He even gave out the heavenly flame and the Battle Emperor bloodline. But this was not enough. It was very difficult to increase his strength in a short period of time. Then, it was necessary to find an ally. Under the reminder of the Supreme Pill Spirit, Xiao Feng thought of Medusa. After leaving the city, Xiao Feng spread out his battle chi light wings and flew towards the direction of the Naga tribe in the Tarkal Desert. After being promoted to king, Xiao Feng could fly with his battle chi light wings. It was completely different from before when he had to rely on 2 feet to travel. In less than half a day, Xiao Feng flew over the magical beast mountain range and arrived at the Tarkal Desert. Along the way, Xiao Feng would occasionally encounter some human mercenaries and Naga warriors who were fighting. In the beginning, Xiao Feng even took action to stop them and resolve a few battles. When Xiao Feng found that the 2 groups of people were fighting again after he left, he was no longer interested in taking action. Teacher, why can't humans and Naga coexist peacefully? Xiao Feng felt that it was meaningless for the 2 races to fight each other like this, apart from causing casualties on both sides. No. At least not in this place. Why? Xiao Feng was very surprised by the Supreme Pill Spirit's words. He could not understand why they could not live peacefully. Survival. For survival. The Supreme Pill Spirit sighed. What is this place? This is a desert. Whether it is humans or Naga, they all need water and food. However, water and food are the least here. So that's how it is. Xiao Feng heard the Supreme Pill Spirit's words and immediately understood. The two races living in the Tarkal Desert all wanted to survive and develop. It would inevitably lead to a fight for the water oasis, and killing was unavoidable. Teacher, the desert is such a hot and dry place. It shouldn't be suitable for Naga, right? Yes. The Supreme Pill Spirit nodded and then smiled at Xiao Feng. When you go to find Medusa this time, you can use a suitable territory as the price for them to form an alliance with you. Territory? Teacher, are you joking? In this world, every piece of land had an owner. Where else is there? Hearing the words of the Supreme Alchemy Spirit, Xiao Feng was clearly taken aback. Black Corner Region. It was a land of chaos, a land without a master. It's a vast and boundless land with abundant resources and a suitable temperature. Supreme Elixir Spirit chuckled and continued, starting a war in the fringe will not attract the attention of other forces. You and Medusa led the Naga tribe to fight and kill. Not only can I improve myself through constant battles, but I can also conquer a territory and have a solid backing. Thank you for your guidance, teacher. Xiao Feng's blood began to boil. If he could form an alliance with Medusa, then according to what his teacher had said, he would really be able to conquer a territory in the Black Corner region. Medusa would definitely become a loyal ally. This way, the Xiao clan would have another path of retreat. Once they encountered danger, not only would they be able to retreat to Medusa's territory, but they would also be able to borrow the strength of their allies to deal with the enemy. Very good. Let's do that. After making up his mind, Xiao Feng activated his battle energy light wings and sped all the way to Medusa's main city. Not long after, a huge desert oasis appeared in front of him. A huge and unique city appeared in front of Xiao Feng. Human! How dare you barge into my snake tribe's main city? You're courting death. Just as Xiao Feng was about to land, a loud roar suddenly sounded from the city in front of him. A huge pitch-black snake shadow soared into the sky. The huge snake head opened its huge mouth filled with dense fangs and bit down at Xiao Feng. Damn it! They didn't even give me a chance to speak. They attacked as soon as they saw me. Xiao Feng felt depressed in his heart. He was not here to fight, but with the current situation, he had no choice but to fight. Mountain Shifting Seal. Xiao Feng had no choice but to fight first. With a loud roar, he formed a seal with his hands. His strength was as strong as pushing a mountain. Battle energy erupted and the image of a mountain appeared in Xiao Feng's hand. It met the huge snake head and fiercely collided with it. Boom! A huge tremor shook the heavens and the earth. Although Xiao Feng only had the strength of a Do Wang, he was not at a disadvantage when fighting with Medusa, who was at the peak of the Do Wang realm. Although he did not use his full strength at this moment, it was not difficult for him to deal with this snake tribe expert who was also a Do Wang. Under the huge tremor, the pitch-black snake shadow immediately collapsed. The snake tribe Do Wang who attacked let out a muffled groan. His figure quickly retreated and landed on the huge city wall of King City. Damn human, how dare you behave so atrociously in my snake tribe's main city? Another roar sounded from the city. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. A few figures broke through the air and landed on the city wall. Everyone, please don't attack. I'm here to visit. Before Xiao Feng could finish his words, he saw the 5 Do Wangs on the city wall form a strange formation. The battle energy on their bodies merged into one. 5 Snake Poison Seal. The 5 of them shouted in unison. Their hands formed a strange seal and a huge energy light pillar rushed to the sky. Hiss hiss. A huge roar sounded from the light pillar. A huge green python spiraled out from the light pillar. Its huge aura shook the surroundings. In an instant, the wind whistled and sand and rocks flew. Damn it! Seeing this momentum, Xiao Feng felt very depressed. This 5 snake poison seal was very powerful. If he did not use his full strength to deal with it, he might be at a disadvantage. However, if he used his full strength, there might be deaths and injuries. This did not match the purpose of Xiaofeng's trip. Brat, what is the triple jade eyes that I gave you for? The Grand Elixir Spirit heavily snorted. That's right. Xiaofeng rejoiced in his heart. Since Xiaofeng had never used this newly acquired skill before, he didn't even think of using it when he was facing an enemy. At this moment, after hearing the Grand Elixir Spirit's reminder, Xiaofeng felt confident. Combine the Thunderclap magic mantra with the triple jade eyes. The effect will be better. The Grand Elixir Spirit reminded again. I understand. Xiaofeng nodded and roared to the sky. Tut! A thunderous sound rushed out. The mighty thunder shook the surroundings. The majestic and vast power blasted towards the 5 people on the city wall. At the same time, 3 dark golden runes lit up in Xiaofeng's eyes. An invisible wave followed the thunder and rushed towards the 5 people in the formation. The Thunderclap magic mantra's soul-shaking power rushed over. The 5 Snake Clan Do Wang in the formation trembled, and the hand seals in their hands suddenly stopped. The hand seals could not continue, and the formation was instantly broken. The light pillar that reached the sky exploded, and the huge snake shadow roared and turned into smoke. Immediately after, an invisible wave swept across the area. The 5 Snake Clan Do Wang in the formation were shocked to the point that their souls were in a mess. They were absent-minded and vaguely felt a sense of submission to Xiaofeng. It's finally settled. Xiaofeng breathed a sigh of relief. The triple jade eyes were indeed extraordinary. After settling the dispute, Xiaofeng raised his head and shouted towards the city. My name is Xiaofeng. I'm here to visit Queen Medusa. Hurry up and report this. I'm already here. A 7-colored haze billowed in front of Xiaofeng, and Medusa's beautiful figure appeared in front of Xiaofeng. I'm very happy that you can come. A bright smile bloomed on Medusa's face. Chapter 116. Your Majesty, I have something important to discuss with you this time. After following Medusa to the capital, the 2 of them sat down in a hall. Xiaofeng went straight to the point and told her the purpose of this trip. The Naga race has lived in the Tagar Desert for many years. However, this place is not suitable for the survival and development of the Naga race in terms of climate, environment, and resources. Xiaofeng raised his head and looked at Medusa. He said seriously, I think the Black Corner region is a good place. The climate and resources there are very suitable. More importantly, it is a chaotic place. No matter how big the commotion is, no one will pay attention. Therefore, I want to form an alliance with the Naga race. We will conquer the Black Corner region together and take down a large territory. Xiaofeng was beaming with joy as he spoke. However, although the smile on Medusa's face was the same as before, the joy in her eyes was diminishing. You came to tell me this? Medusa smiled and looked at Xiaofeng. She reached out and poured a cup of tea for Xiaofeng. She looked at Xiaofeng with a smile. I came to discuss this matter with the Queen, Xiaofeng nodded. At this time, the Supreme Elixir Spirit's shout suddenly sounded in his mind. Boy, if you want to form an alliance with Medusa, then follow what I taught you. Say that you want to see the beautiful scenery of the Naga Kingdom. Scenery? What scenery is there? Xiaofeng was stunned. He found the Supreme Elixir Spirit's words inconceivable. Other than a large oasis, the Naga race was filled with yellow sand. What scenery was there to see? Do you still want to form an alliance? If you want to form an alliance, then do as I say. Do you think I would harm you? The Supreme Elixir Spirit roared at Xiaofeng. Alright. Xiaofeng could only follow the Supreme Elixir Spirit's instructions and continued his previous words. Other than that, I have also yearned for the scenery of the Naga Kingdom for a long time. This time, I also want to see the beautiful scenery of the Naga Kingdom. Beautiful scenery? The smile on Queen Medusa's face was like a blooming flower. Her eyes flickered with surprise, but her face was faintly flushed. Beautiful scenery? The Serpent Men tribe was in the wilderness. Other than a few oases, there was only yellow sand everywhere. How could there be any scenery? Then, the only truly beautiful scenery was. Medusa stole a glance at Xiao Feng, and her face suddenly became a little shy. Your Majesty, what do you think of my proposal to form an alliance? Xiao Feng saw that Medusa was smiling very brightly after hearing him mention the beautiful scenery. She seemed to have forgotten about the alliance that he had proposed and hurriedly asked. Alliance? The ambiguous atmosphere that had just been created was completely destroyed by Xiao Feng's words. Medusa rolled her eyes and felt annoyed in her heart. Seriously, why did he suddenly mention this? Your previous suggestion was not bad. Naturally, forming an alliance is not a problem. Since they were talking about serious matters, Medusa also became serious. I have also heard some news about the Black Corner region. It is indeed a good place to go. However, the migration of the entire tribe is no small matter. We must first investigate. Your Majesty has considered everything very thoroughly. Xiao Feng picked up his teacup and took a sip. He nodded. I will contribute to the investigation. You just need to arrange some people to go with me. There is no need to arrange for other people. I will go personally. Medusa smiled at Xiao Feng. The migration of the entire tribe, and we will still have to face continuous battles. I will not be at ease if others go. I will go with you. This is good too. Xiao Feng was very happy to see that Medusa was taking this matter so seriously and was even going to investigate personally. This way, the alliance between the Xiao family and the Serpent Men tribe had been reached. In the future, as long as their interests were closely linked, they would definitely be a reliable ally. After a short conversation, Medusa brought Xiao Feng to tour the Serpent Men tribe. Since he said that he was here to look at the scenery, Xiao Feng naturally could not refuse. Then, the two of them appeared in pairs in various habitats of the Serpent Men tribe. 7 days had passed since the 12 tribes had been traversed through. This is the red-scaled snake fruit. It is a delicacy of the red-scaled tribe. Beside a small oasis stream, Medusa plucked a scarlet fruit from a bush and handed it to Xiao Feng. Come try it. Thank you. Xiao Feng smiled and reached out to take the scarlet fruit from Medusa's hand. When his fingers touched Medusa's soft, boneless fingers, Xiao Feng's heart trembled slightly. After a few days of interaction, Medusa's gentleness and beauty left a deep impression on Xiao Feng. All right. Gentleness. The supreme elixir spirit snorted. She is gentleness to you. Queen Medusa's fierce reputation is well known. She is cold and arrogant, decisive and merciless. You are the only one who has not heard of her, right? You are the only one who has not heard of her, right? Good times always pass too quickly. Not long after, the two of them returned to Medusa's royal city. These few days I have traveled all over the Sky Snake 12 tribes. I have finished everything that needs to be done. We can set off for the Black Corner region. After returning to the royal city, Medusa took care of the tribe's affairs and appeared in front of Xiao Feng again. At this moment, Medusa was dressed very plainly. There was no longer the iconic heavenly snake crown, no gorgeous jewelry, and no noble and gorgeous dress. She was only wearing a plain white dress. She looked no different from an ordinary human girl, except for her beautiful face. After evolving into the 7-colored heaven-devouring python, Medusa turned into a 16 or 17-year-old girl. When she stood next to Xiao Feng, one had an imposing appearance, and the other was gentle and pretty, like a lotus flower emerging from the water. They were simply a perfect pair. After leaving the royal city, the two of them rode on their battle-energy light wings and flew. Not long after, the two of them arrived at Rock Desert City. Since they had formed an alliance with Medusa, the Xiao brothers' mercenary group had to know of this news to avoid conflicts with the Snake People tribe in the future. Xiao Feng, you are back? In the mercenary group's hall, Xiao Ding and Xiao Li were discussing how to expand the mercenary group. At this moment, Xiao Feng walked in with Medusa. "Brothers!" Xiao Feng greeted the two of them before introducing Medusa to them. "This is my friend, as well as an ally that I've found. She is the Queen Medusa of the Snake People tribe. She represents the Snake People tribe." Queen Medusa. Hearing this name, Xiao Ding and Xiao Li both stood up in shock, and the chairs they were sitting on fell to the ground with a thud. The two of them looked at the smiling Medusa beside Xiao Feng with a pale face. They blinked and seemed to have some doubts. Such a pretty girl, was she really the infamous Queen Medusa? If it was true, then Xiao Feng, at this moment the two Xiao brothers were full of admiration for Xiao Feng. "You dare to hook up with such a woman? Brother, you are too powerful. Brother, you have sacrificed too much for the alliance." Chapter 117. I am Medusa. Medusa revealed a gentle smile, and gently nodded at the two Xiao brothers. When the two Xiao brothers saw Medusa's gentle smile and heard her soft voice, their bodies trembled a few times. How could the infamous Queen Medusa be so gentle? "Don't scare me, okay?" The two Xiao brothers looked at Xiao Feng and felt that this brother was really like a high mountain. "Queen Medusa is actually so gentle in front of you. What a good tactic." The discussion that followed was very smooth. The two Xiao brothers seemed to be very respectful toward Medusa. When they heard the news of an alliance, they immediately agreed happily. Medusa gathered her subordinates and met with the Xiao brothers to set the main idea of the alliance. After which, she let them discuss the details themselves. The remaining matters were more complicated. However, there was no need for Medusa and Xiao Feng to intervene. The two of them left Rock Desert City and hurried toward the Black Corner region. Xiao Feng and Medusa dragged their long wings of light as they flew through the air. They passed by the Jiama Empire's border and a few small countries. A dark, vast plain appeared in front of the two of them. This is the Great Plains of the Black region. Seeing the vast black land in front of him, Xiao Feng turned his head and smiled at Medusa. "From here onwards, we are already in the territory of the Black Corner region." "Yes." Medusa smiled and nodded. "I have also heard of the Black Corner region. However, I don't know much about it. Why don't we go down and understand the situation here?" "I have the same intention." Xiao Feng laughed heartily. After which, he said to Medusa, "It is said that this is a chaotic land. There is only the law of the jungle. When we go down later, you must not be soft-hearted if we meet any problems." "You still want her to not be soft-hearted?" The Grand Pill Spirit secretly laughed. "You want Queen Medusa to not be soft-hearted?" She had never been soft-hearted before. "Yes." Medusa smiled sweetly and nodded at Xiao Feng. After which, the two of them pressed down their Do-Chi light wings and landed on the Black Plains. The ground beneath his feet was pitch black, and the sky above his head seemed to be somewhat gloomy. This made the Blackfield Great Plains look very gloomy. Thus, this was a place where evil thrived. The two of them traveled on the black soil, and it didn't take long for them to encounter a small nomadic tribe. A few linoleum tents were set up beside a stream. 7 or 8 middle-aged men seemed to be washing freshly slaughtered cattle and sheep in the stream. "What a beautiful woman! Ha 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 ha! Someone actually delivered themselves to my doorstep?" When the middle-aged men by the stream saw Xiao Feng and Medusa walking over, especially when they saw the peerless beauty of Medusa, they immediately cried out in surprise. "Kill the man, leave the woman alive." With a loud roar, several middle-aged men brandished the sharp knives in their hands and charged forward. "It really is the fringe." Xiao Feng turned to look at Medusa and smiled helplessly. "So, don't be soft-hearted." Raising his arm, Xiao Feng raised his palm and waved it down at the few middle-aged men charging over. A whistling wind tore through the air and heavily chopped down at the few middle-aged men. This was the mountain-splitting palm. The Xiao family's yellow rank dough technique was basically something that did not make the cut. At this moment, this palm was unleashed from Xiao Feng's hands, but it similarly possessed a shocking power. Bang! A powerful gale rushed up and directly blasted the few middle-aged men away. Fresh blood spurted wildly all the way as they fell heavily to the ground and never moved again. The Grand Supreme Elixir Spirit took the opportunity to activate the resource recovery function of the small and medium-sized resource warehouse in the ring and collected the souls of these few people. After which, it directly decomposed and extracted all the information about the Black Corner region. Unfortunately, these few people were only nomadic tribes on the Blackfield Great Plains. The things they knew were only some of the things on the Blackfield Great Plains. Xiao Feng brat, I suggest that you directly pass through the Blackfield Great Plains and go to Black Mark City to get some information first. Then, you can decide how to make your move. The Grand Supreme Elixir Spirit directly gave Xiao Feng a hint based on the information it had collected. Black Mark City? Xiao Feng nodded. He already had a deep understanding of the Grand Supreme Elixir Spirit's omniscience, and also agreed with the Grand Supreme Elixir Spirit's words. Just as he was planning to discuss with Medusa and directly fly over. When he turned his head to look at Medusa, he discovered that she had actually pulled out a horse carriage from behind a large tent at some unknown time. I found a horse carriage. Let's take the carriage and hurry on the journey? Seeing Medusa's expression of interest, Xiao Feng could only helplessly comply. Giddy up! Xiao Feng and Medusa sat side by side in the horse carriage and drove at full speed all the way. There were no roads on the Blackfield Great Plains. There were roads everywhere here. According to the Grand Supreme Elixir Spirit's instructions, Xiao Feng drove the carriage and rushed in the direction of the Black Mark City. Actually, it was also Li Yu's idea to let Xiao Feng come to the Black Corner region. The Jialan Academy was in the Black Corner region. The girl in the Jialan Academy, who was known as the Brute Force Queen, was a young ancient void dragon who had swallowed the transformation grass and transformed into human form. Li Yu needed the ancient void dragon's blood, so he had to get it from her. If it was just for the spirit energy barrier on the dragon and phoenix corpses, there was no need to go through so much trouble. It wasn't difficult for the system to directly take away the spirit energy barrier. The real problem was that without the ancient void dragon's bloodline's deterrence, Xiao Feng would have no choice but to kill his way into the beast region. Not only would this take a lot of trouble, but it would also draw out some old monsters with terrifying strength. That would be very troublesome. Thus, obtaining the ancient void dragon's blood was the most appropriate method. The horse carriage sped along. Xiao Feng and Medusa drove the horse carriage through the Blackfield Great Plains. Along the way, they overturned the robbers who blocked their way and killed the merchants who had turned into bandits in the blink of an eye. It took them 3 days to complete the journey that could be done in half an hour by flying. Xiao Feng was helpless, but Medusa was very happy. A huge city made of pitch-black stone appeared in front of them. Is this Black Mark City? Xiao Feng and Medusa glanced at each other, then drove the horse carriage towards Black Mark City. Haha! What a beautiful girl! This young master wants her. Not far from the city gates, a group of figures in blood-red robes appeared on the side of the road. When Xiao Feng drove the horse carriage past, a blood-red robed youth with a pale face suddenly saw Medusa smiling sweetly beside Xiao Feng. Medusa's looks were so devastating that it would be strange if she didn't cause trouble in a place like the Black Corner region. Kill! When they heard the blood-red robed youth's words, the group of blood-red robed people didn't hesitate in the slightest. They immediately attacked. Streaks of blood-red light soared into the sky and transformed into huge blood-red claws. They then charged towards Xiao Feng, who was on the carriage. The overflowing stench of blood filled the air, and the stench was nauseating. Scram! Xiao Feng raised his head and roared. He waved his hand and swept out with his palm. dazzling golden light flashed. It was merely an ordinary shattering palm, but with Xiao Feng's immense strength, it still possessed shocking divine might. Bang! Xiao Feng's palm strike shattered the blood-red shadows that filled the sky. The powerful wind sent the blood-red robed people flying. Chapter 118. You have some skills. When the blood-red clothed youth saw that Xiao Feng had sent his subordinate flying with a single move, a cold light flashed across his malicious eyes. He coldly glanced at Xiao Feng and said, "Unfortunately, you've provoked someone you shouldn't have. Kid, you're dead." The blood-red clothed youth took a step forward and coldly stared at Xiao Feng. A bright red light lit up in his hand. "I'm from the blood sect, noisy!" Xiao Feng angrily roared. He raised his head and threw a punch. The Hans seal of the 9 mountain moving seals was a clenched fist. The Hans seal shook the mountains with a single punch. An enormous force exploded, destroying mountains and breaking peaks. This group of people's martial arts were extremely evil, and their actions were also extremely evil. Why would Xiao Feng waste his breath on them? In a place like the Black Corner region, one could only use thunderous methods to intimidate others so that they wouldn't dare to provoke you. This group of people in front of him was obviously an excellent target for him to establish his authority. A dazzling golden radiance flashed as a golden fist exploded with a monstrous force and smashed down on the blood-red clothed youth. Boom! A loud sound that shook the earth and the mountains. The blood-red clothed youth didn't even have time to scream before he was blasted apart by Xiao Feng's punch. You dare to kill my young sect leader? Damn it! You're dead. Our blood sect will fight you to the death. My sect leader is an expert on the black list with a Do Huang cultivation. Kid, you're dead. Seeing that Xiao Feng had blasted the blood-red clothed youth apart with a single punch, the group of blood-red clothed people let out a series of horrified cries. Blood sect? Xiao Feng glanced at the remaining blood-red clothed people and threw another punch at them. A force as heavy as a mountain crushed them into a bloody mist. Xiao Feng, kid, you've learned the King Kong technique, and you must follow the King Kong way. Killing is to protect, and slaying is not slaying. So, recite the rebirth mantra. Rebirth mantra? Xiao Feng was stunned for a moment, then smiled bitterly and shook his head. He felt a little powerless towards the strange request of the Supreme Pill Spirit. Alright. Remove all negative karma and obtain a pure land. Namo Amit Night. A burst of strange Sanskrit chants resounded, and a brilliant golden radiance blossomed on Xiao Feng's body. Xiao Feng, who was chanting the Sanskrit, looked solemn and compassionate. The vast and merciful radiance sprinkled on the blood-stained ground, and all the evil and filth were cleansed by this golden radiance. The souls of those people in blood-red robes showed up in the golden light. They put their palms together and smiled at Xiao Feng, as if they had been enlightened. Then they disappeared in the light. Of course, they weren't truly reborn in paradise, but had fallen into the devil's claws of the Supreme Pill Spirit. The Supreme Pill Spirit took the opportunity to retrieve and decompose the souls of a few people, extracting all the information. This was the Supreme Pill Spirit's goal. What Vajra Dao, what rebirth mantra, it was all nonsense. In the future, there would be more times to collect souls and extract information. As Xiao Feng's strength increased, he would soon be able to detect the existence of soul bodies. It was better to give an open and above-board reason for this kind of thing. Regarding Xiao Feng's actions, whether it was Medusa or the other spectators in the Black Mark City, they were all somewhat confused. A moment ago, he was brimming with killing intent, and the next moment, he was compassionate. Were these the tears of a crocodile? Kid, the person you killed has quite a big background. He is the blood sect's young sect master. This blood sect is one of the forces in the Black Corner region. They control a vast area and have a huge city. After extracting all the information, the Supreme Pill Spirit began to remind Xiao Feng. Vast area? Huge city? Xiao Feng's eyes lit up, and he turned his head to look at Medusa. These people came from a force called Blood Sect. It seems that their background isn't small. Blood Sect? Then let's destroy them. Medusa smiled and nodded, casually saying those words that were filled with killing intent. Yes, since we've already provoked them, then we might as well fight our way to their door. In any case, we came here to conquer a territory, so let's start with this Blood Sect. Xiao Feng wasn't an indecisive person, so he immediately made a decision. Although the Supreme Pill Spirit had told Xiao Feng the location of the Blood Sect, Xiao Feng wasn't in a good position to expose the Supreme Pill Spirit. Therefore, he casually grabbed a person on the side of the road and asked about the location of the Blood Sect. Then, he unfolded his Do Chi light wings, and 2 streams of light soared into the sky. Following the Supreme Pill Spirit's guidance, the 2 of them flew all the way. At this time, the Supreme Pill Spirit told Xiao Feng the other information extracted from the souls of the people from the Blood Sect. Xiao Feng Kid, the Blood Sect's cultivation method is strange and evil, and can absorb the blood of a human body. However, for this kind of evil cultivation method, you have the true sun fire, which is their nemesis. That's great. When Xiao Feng heard the Supreme Pill Spirit's news, he felt a burst of joy in his heart. After all, the Blood Sect was a large force, so they definitely had a lot of people. With Xiao Feng and Medusa's cultivation, the Blood Sect's master, who was only at the Do Huang realm, was nothing. However, having too many enemies was also troublesome. Now that he knew that the true sun fire could restrain the Blood Sect's cultivation method, Xiao Feng was even more confident. No matter how many people came, he would just burn them all. The 2 of them flew all the way, and soon, a huge mountain city stood in front of them. It was a mountain city. The entire city was built on top of a huge mountain. Starting from the foot of the mountain, layers of buildings surrounded the entire mountain like a spiral. Under the cover of the forest, the buildings were partly hidden and partly visible. The environment here. When Medusa saw the mountain city in front of them, she raised her eyebrows, and a trace of surprise flashed through her eyes. The Yuan Qi of heaven and earth here leans towards the Yin Qi, which is very suitable for us snake people to live in. That's a coincidence. Xiao Feng laughed and turned his head to look at Medusa. Then, let's start our journey of conquest here. With a flap of the Do Chi light wings, the 2 of them whizzed into the sky above the mountain city. Where is the master of the Blood Sect? Come quickly and accept your death. Xiao Feng spread out his Do Chi light wings and floated in the air as he roared at the mountain city. What's going on? Is someone attacking us? After this loud roar, the entire mountain city was in an uproar. Which scoundrel dares to be so presumptuous in my Blood Sect's territory? A furious roar sounded in the mountain city. Bloody figures whizzed through the sky, covering the entire mountain city with a layer of bright red blood fog. Within the churning blood fog, a figure whose entire body was shining with a bloody light soared into the sky. 2 huge bloody light wings were dragging behind him, and the churning blood fog formed a huge bloody fog in the air. A mere Do Wang realm warrior dares to be so presumptuous in my Blood Sect? Brat, you're courting death. The master of the Blood Sect, Fan Lao, raised his bloody eyes and swept them over Xiao Feng and Medusa. He coldly snorted, and a bloody light that blotted the sky exploded from his hand. Soul-devouring bloody palm. The bloody light soared into the sky and turned into a huge bloody palm, violently slamming down toward Xiao Feng and Medusa. Insignificant skill. A cold smile appeared on the corner of Xiao Feng's mouth. Facing the huge bloody palm that blotted the sky, he slowly raised his arm, and a golden radiance lit up on his fingertip. Sun golden flame. The The brilliant sun shone upon the heavens and the earth. A huge golden fire lotus bloomed in the air. Chapter 119. Boom! The glorious sun shone over the world as a majestic golden-yellow flame swept across the sky. A huge golden-colored fire lotus rose. The monstrous blood fog was like snow in a furnace, instantly disappearing without a trace. The monstrous fire directly enveloped the blood sect leader, Fan Lao. Fan Lao let out a miserable shriek. The blood light all over his body was burned by the golden-yellow flame. His entire body turned into a huge pillar of fire. In just a moment, the blood sect leader, a Do Huang expert on the blacklist, was burned to ashes by someone. Sect leader. In the mountain city of the blood sect, countless blood sect disciples cried out in shock when they saw the scene in front of them. They didn't dare to believe that this was real. The sect leader of the blood sect is dead. Xiao Feng waved his hand and withdrew the true sun flame. He landed in front of the mountain city and shouted toward the mountain city, "From today onwards, this place belongs to me." When Xiao Feng said these words, the entire mountain city became silent. Run! A moment later, a loud cry sounded. A few bloody lights whizzed out and fled in all directions. Judging from the Do Chi wings behind these people, they were all Do Wangs. They must have planned to take advantage of this opportunity to escape. Humph! Medusa raised her eyebrows and gently waved her hand. The seven-colored cloud on her fingertip rotated and transformed into a few tiny seven-colored snake shadows that whizzed out. Pooh! 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 The seven-colored snakes passed through their bodies. A few figures that had soared into the sky screamed and fell from the sky. With a boom sound, they smashed onto the ground and no longer made any sound. The sect leader, who was at the Do Huang realm, was burned to ashes. The elders, who were at the Do Huang realm, were killed just as they were about to escape. The entire mountain city was silent. Everyone was frightened by Xiao Feng and Medusa's ferocious might to the point that they kept quiet out of fear. In a chaotic place like the Black Corner region, the only rule was strength. In this way, the rule of the strong being respected was deeply ingrained in everyone's hearts. Xiao Feng and Medusa had killed the upper echelons of the blood sect. When they went down to take over the blood sect, the tens of thousands of people in the mountain city didn't resist at all. There was no sense of honor or loyalty to the sect. Of course, in a place like the Black Corner region, it was a little extravagant to mention honor and loyalty. Originally, he had only come out to investigate. Unexpectedly, he had easily conquered a territory and gained control of it. This caught Medusa and Xiao Feng off guard. After that, he became even more fervent about conquering the Black Corner region. With Xiao Feng's strength, which was not weaker than a Do Huang, and adding Medusa's strength, which had been promoted to a Do Zong after her evolution, he could be said to be invincible within the Black Corner region. After winning the first battle, Medusa hurriedly sent a message back to the Naga tribe, and the rest of the army continued to move over. A great war began in this turbulent land. Time passed day by day amidst the battles and battles. Unknowingly, 2 years had already passed. 2 years later, in the Black Corner region, a huge new faction was born. Among the old factions, the Blood Sect had disappeared, the Black Skeleton Graveyard had disappeared, and the 8 Doors had also disappeared. This territory, which was formed by 3 huge cities and vast mountains and plains, was now called the Wind Alliance. Then, as the peak faction that stood in the middle of the Black Corner region, the Jialan Academy could no longer sit still. The rise of the Wind Alliance directly swept away all the surrounding factions and caused a huge commotion in the Black Corner region. It was impossible for the Jialan Academy to ignore this. Although they didn't have to take action, they had to come into contact with and understand the Wind Alliance. When an old man brought a white-clothed young lady to the Black Mark City and saw Xiao Feng, Li Yu's plan finally came to fruition. Very good. The brute force young lady has appeared. When the Grand Pill Spirit reported the situation to Li Yu couldn't help but laugh loudly. Countless serpent men had appeared in the Wind Alliance. As the humanoid ancient void dragon brute force young lady, the brute force young lady, Violet Mist, had an innate soul deterrence that exerted a natural pressure on the serpent men. The Jialan Academy wanted to display their strength, but didn't want to directly start a war. Violet Mist was a very suitable candidate. Everything was proceeding as expected. Next was to obtain the ancient void dragon's blood. As long as they obtained the ancient void dragon's blood, they could enter the beast region and enter the ancient ruins. This old man is Su Qian, the great elder of the Jialan Academy. In the main hall of the Black Mark City residence, the Jialan Academy's Su Qian was meeting with Xiao Feng and Medusa. The two alliance heads are so young, yet you've already established such a large foundation. You're truly young and promising. Su Qian sat in a chair, picked up a teacup, and took a sip. He exchanged pleasantries with Xiao Feng and Medusa. Elder Su, you flatter us. Xiao Feng smiled. The Jialan Academy's name has shaken the continent. I've also admired it for a long time. At that moment, Medusa suddenly stared at the white-robed girl, Violet Mist. She snorted coldly, her expression extremely unhappy. What's going on? Xiao Feng glanced at Medusa before raising his eyes to stare at the young lady in white. He frowned slightly. So she's not human. Medusa coldly swept her gaze over the white-robed girl. You actually used soul intimidation to test me? Little girl, you're still too inexperienced. You're the one who's not human. When Violet Mist heard the words, not human, she instantly exploded. After being adopted by Elder Su Qian, Violet Mist had always lived in the Jialan Academy. Although she knew deep down that there was something wrong with her origins, she'd always thought of herself as human. Now, there was actually someone who didn't think of her as human. How could she endure this? Bastard! Medusa's expression turned cold. With a furious roar, she suddenly rose to her feet. Violet Mist's words of, "You're the one who's not human," pierced Medusa's heart. Medusa had been with Xiao Feng for a few years. She usually dressed like a human girl and didn't reveal any characteristics of the Naga tribe. This was because she didn't want Xiao Feng to have misgivings about her race and affect the progress of their relationship. Now that Violet Mist had said this, Medusa's heart was filled with anger and a seven-colored light surged from her hand. She was about to attack Violet Mist. Don't attack. Su Qian hurriedly stood up and pulled Violet Mist, shielding the white-robed girl behind him. Don't be angry. Xiao Feng reached out and grabbed Medusa's hand. He looked deeply at Medusa and smiled at her. You don't have to worry. Medusa's face flushed red and she lowered her head slightly. How could someone as intelligent as Medusa not understand Xiao Feng's meaning? Don't have to worry. Naturally, it didn't matter what race she was or what background she had. It wouldn't be a problem. The sudden conflict had calmed down. Xiao Feng and Su Qian both let out a sigh of relief. If the two forces became enemies because of this inexplicable reason, it would be too much of a joke. However, Xiao Feng, you brat, get a drop of blood from this white-robed girl? Hearing the Supreme Pill Spirit's words, Xiao Feng was stunned. He wanted to do this again. Chapter 120. Elder Su Qian, this lady's background is somewhat unusual. After sitting down again, Xiao Feng began to prepare to complete the task given by the Supreme Elixir Spirit. Although it was difficult to ask for a drop of blood, the Supreme Elixir Spirit's drop of blood last time had given him a very powerful innate skill. The drop of blood this time would definitely be a great harvest. Cough, cough. Elder Su Qian coughed a few times with a somewhat ashamed expression. He originally had bad intentions for bringing Ziyin here. His soul intimidation earlier had even angered Medusa. Now that he was exposed, Su Qian felt a little embarrassed. "Little lady." Xiao Feng turned his head to look at Ziyin and said with a smile, "I presume that you don't know your own background? Have you ever thought of finding out your own background?" The Supreme Elixir Spirit hinted, "This little lady wants to find out her own background." Xiao Feng immediately had an idea. "So what?" Ziyin arrogantly raised her head and looked at Xiao Feng with disdain. "Even the people from the Jialan Academy can't figure out my background. Could it be that you are more powerful than them?" Haha. Xiao Feng did not mind Ziyin's attitude. He smiled and continued, "Although I might not be able to figure it out, my teacher will definitely be able to. Little lady, do you want to try?" "Your teacher?" Hearing Xiao Feng's words, even Su Qian and Medusa became serious. Xiao Feng was not even 20 years old yet. Yet, he was able to have such great achievements and strength. The teacher who was able to teach him must be extremely powerful. "Ziyin, this old man thinks that young master Xiao can give it a try." Su Qian was also very curious about Ziyin's background. He wanted to see how powerful the teacher that Xiao Feng mentioned was, so he wanted Ziyin to give it a try. "If that's the case," Ziyin nodded and said to Xiao Feng, "then what do you plan to do?" "It's very simple. You just need to give me some blood." Xiao Feng chuckled as he extended his hand and handed over an empty pill bottle. "Give me some fresh blood." I showed it to the teacher. With teacher's erudition, it shouldn't be difficult for him to distinguish your background. "Is that so?" Ziyin looked at Su Qian and saw him nod. She reached out and took the bottle. She bit her finger and dripped her blood into the bottle. After a dozen drops of blood, the wound on Ziyin's finger began to heal. Ziyin raised her hand and was about to put it into her mouth again when Xiao Feng stopped her. "Enough, enough." Xiao Feng reached out and took the jade bottle from Ziyin's hand. Then, he waved his hand and put it into his ring. "I will give the blood to teacher. The results will be out in a few days. When the time comes, I will send someone to deliver a letter to the Canary Academy." Following this, the group continued to converse for a while. After clarifying the positions of both sides and ensuring that they were not hostile, Su Qian took Ziyin and left. "Teacher, why do you need that little girl's blood?" Returning to the room, Xiao Feng could not wait to ask the Supreme Pill Spirit. He. Of course it was useful. Dragon blood. This is dragon blood. That little girl is a young ancient void dragon. A dragon race? No matter how tough Xiao Feng's nerves were, he was still shocked by this news. "Teacher, the dragon race has not appeared on the mainland for countless years. Is that little girl really a dragon? How could I be wrong?" The Supreme Pill Spirit snorted and continued, "However, this little bit of dragon blood is too little. It can only be used to refine a piece of equipment with dragon's aura. It's barely useful." Dragon's aura? Xiao Feng recalled Medusa's spiritual shock. The so-called dragon's aura should be this spiritual shock. If this thing was used well, it could still be very useful. In Wuyuan City, Liu laughed heartily. "Haha! The ancient void dragon's blood is in my hands." Seeing the Supreme Pill Spirit hand over the ancient void dragon's blood, Liu quickly instructed the system. "System, scan the ancient void dragon's blood." Scan complete. Ancient void dragon's blood information has been recorded. Very good. Now that the ancient void dragon's blood was in his hands, the next step of his plan could be carried out smoothly. Liu returned the ancient void dragon's blood to the Supreme Pill Spirit after scanning it. Liu wasn't very interested in this world's dragon bloodlines. According to Liu's standards, true dragons, true phoenixes, Qilins, and other divine beasts should at least have immortal strength. The dragons and phoenixes of this world were still a bit too weak. Now that the preparations were complete, Li Yu was just about to have the supreme pill spirit trick Xiao Feng into going to the beast region to search for ancient ruins when a sudden discovery made Li Yu pause. Because Li Yu saw Xiao Yan carrying a huge blunt sword and dark heavy buster sword on his back, Xiao Yan walked past Li Yu's shop with heavy footstep. He was full of vigor. Li Yu just remembered that Xiao Yan was going to the Yunlan sect for an appointment. So, another good show is about to begin? Li Yu laughed heartily as he returned to the backyard. He had been in this world for a few years. According to Li Yu's plan, the first task in this world was to complete the construction of the merchant city. The second task was to make use of this time to cultivate. Now that he had completed the 4 extremities and reached the dragon realm, he estimated that it wouldn't be a problem for him to complete the dragon realm in 2 to 3 years. What was left was the construction of the merchant city. The preparations are complete. There shouldn't be a problem to plunder those resources. Once the Yunlan sect's matter is over, I'll let Xiao Feng go to the beast region. Li Yu smiled. However, he thought of another problem. After I slapped and someone called me a dodi, Hun Tiandi couldn't sit still anymore, right? Then, what will he do? Li Yu started to look forward to it. Time passed day by day. There was only 1 day left before the 3 years agreement. During these few days, Li Yu also paid attention to the movements in Wu Yuan City. However, to his surprise, he didn't discover anything. The Hall of Souls didn't attack the Xiao family? Hun Tiandi needs the Ancient Emperor's jade to open the Ancient Emperor's cave. It's impossible for him to give up. Then where is his target? Li Yu took a sip of tea and shook his head with a smile. Yunlan sect. Nalan Yenran pulled out her sword and carved another sword mark on the wall in front of her. For the past 3 years, I've carved a sword mark on this wall every day. Now, there are a total of 1,094 sword marks. Only 1 sword mark is left. Nalan Yenran sheathed her sword and looked out of the window. Her pretty face was cold as she said, "Tomorrow is the end of the 3-year period. Xiao Yan, I've waited for this day for 3 years. 3 years ago, when I broke off the engagement, I was called blind. I was mocked for 3 whole years. Xiao Yan, so what if you have the talent to become a pharmacist? So what if you regain the title of a genius? I will definitely defeat you. I want everyone to know that I, Nalan Yenran, was right. I want everyone to know that even if you, Xiao Yan, have the talent to become a pharmacist, you're still a trash. Let's see how you'll face others after being defeated by me." Chapter 121. Xiao Family, Xiao Yan. A young man wearing a black robe and carrying a giant sword stepped onto the peak of the Yunlan sect. Facing the aggressive gazes of the Yunlan sect members, the young man raised his head and announced his name. "Xiao Yan, I've come as promised." The young man took a step forward. His imposing manner was like a raging inferno. Her posture of standing upright with her head held high and her fearless spirit was truly admirable. "Xiao Yan, you're finally here." Nalan Yenran's face was cold. She held the hilt of her sword and walked out of the crowd step by step. As she moved, the cold sword aura whistled through the air. Waves of clang-clang sounds shook the surroundings. "I've been waiting for this day for 3 years." Nalan Yenran unsheathed her sword and stood upright. The cold sword aura flourished. "Xiao Yan, you must be defeated by my sword today. I want everyone in the world to know that I, Nalan Yenran, did not make a mistake." Clang, the sound of a sword whistled. A gale whistled around Nalan Yenran. For a moment, the wind and clouds surged. Pointing her sword at Xiao Yan, Nalan Yenran sneered. "Xiao Yan, you're a good-for-nothing. Whether it was 3 years ago or 3 years later, you'll always be a good-for-nothing." Wind's extremity, setting sun. With a shout, Nalan Yenran's figure soared into the air. The long sword in her hand produced a series of rapid vibrations. Endless gale condensed and spiraled on the blade. The dazzling sword light was like a brilliant sunset, poignant yet deadly. It's actually the wind's extremity? Gu Yi saw Naylan using the wind's extremity so decisively and sighed. Naylan, this child, is still holding back her anger. That must be the case. Elder Yun Suo of the Yunlan sect smiled. With Naylan's temperament, how could she bear the humiliation of breaking off the engagement 3 years ago? It's good to let her vent her anger. Yes. The other elder, Yun Lin, nodded his head and cast a contemptuous glance at Xiao Yan, who was standing in the middle of the field. He sneered. A brat from a small family, so what if he has the aptitude to become an alchemist? You want to step on the head of the Yunlan sect? Wind Extreme Sword? Xiao Yan held the dark heavy buster sword in his hand and stood upright. He was not moved at all by the Misty Cloud's sect's ultimate skill in Naylan Yenran's hand, and a faint smile floated on the corner of his mouth. Naylan Yenran, I'm no longer the boy from 3 years ago who could be bullied and trampled on by anyone. The title of trash should be given to someone else. Flame-swallowing wave-splitting ruler. The pitch-black blunt sword was suddenly swung, and a misty blue flame surged on the huge buster sword. The shadows of the buster sword that filled the sky transformed into a black pillar of light that pierced through the sky. It heavily struck the scene of a glorious sunset in the sky. Boom! A violent tremor rose to the sky. The wind whistled, and sand and pebbles flew. The smoke and dust settled, and 2 figures stood facing each other from a distance. They're actually evenly matched? Gu Yi frowned as he looked at the 2 people in the field. Even if Xiao Yan has the aptitude to become an alchemist, I've never heard of him becoming an apprentice to a famous teacher. He actually grew so quickly in just 3 years? Yenran has the Yunlan sect's nurturing, so it's reasonable for her to advance to a dedosher. Xiao Yan is just a brat from an ordinary city-state family. Where did he get the resources to advance to a dedosher in 3 years? This do skill of his is also extraordinary. Elder Yunlin frowned. It's comparable to our Yunlan sect's Wind Extreme Sword. It's at least a high profound level skill. Humph! Elder Yun Suo heavily snorted. So what if he's a dedosher? So what if he's a high profound level skill? Naylan Yenran hasn't used her full strength yet. Xiao Yan will definitely lose today. Hasn't used her full strength yet. Hearing this, Gu Yi and Yun Lin were very surprised. Could it be that Naylan Yenran still had an even more powerful skill? Why'd have they never heard of it before? In the field, the 2 people facing each other moved again. You should be proud that you were able to take my Wind Extreme Sword. But Naylan Yenran's cold eyes suddenly became pitch black. In the deep darkness, there was an aura that could shake even the soul. Raising the long sword in her hand, Naylan Yenran sneered. But you will definitely lose today. Boom! A pitch-black aura exploded from Naylan Yenran's body. The deep darkness surged. Waves of mournful cries rang out from the black aura, shaking one's soul and shaking one's mind. At this moment, Naylan Yenran no longer had the otherworldly beauty of a fairy. It was as if she had turned into a demoness from the underworld. Demonic flames filled the sky. This is a soul. In his mind, Yao Lao's horrified shout rang out. Kid, run! Run! This is a trap! This is a trap! A trap? Xiao Yan's heart tightened. He turned his head and scanned his surroundings. He found that the people of the Yunlan sect had already formed a battle array. The huge aura connected together and faintly blocked Xiao Yan's path of retreat. The 3-year promise was actually a trap? There was a great enemy in front and no way out. Xiao Yan took a deep breath and tightly held the dark heavy buster sword in his hand. Then let's fight. Heavenly Fire 3 Mysterious Change. A misty green flame exploded violently from his body. A huge power condensed in his body. A strange rune flashed on Xiao Yan's forehead. This was the clan tattoo. Xiao Yan, who had merged with the bloodline of the Battle Emperor, directly lit up the ancient Shao clan tattoo when he activated the Heavenly Fire 3 mysterious change. The vast power of the bloodline exploded in his body. Xiao Yan's strength rose again. At this moment, Xiao Yan's strength had advanced to the battle spirit realm. Flame-swallowing wave-splitting ruler. He waved the heavy buster sword in his hand. A huge pillar of light violently collided with Nalan Yenran, who was in midair. The churning green lotus hellfire exploded on the buster sword. The huge pillar of green flame bombarded the monstrous demonic aura. Boom! A loud sound like an earthquake resounded. The monstrous flames surged like a raging tide and swept across the surroundings. Ah! The pillar of light dispersed the demonic aura and sent Nalan Yenran, who had transformed into a demoness, flying. Blood spurted wildly as Nalan Yenran fell heavily to the ground. Nalan Yenran, you lost. Xiao Yan coldly glanced at Nalan Yenran, who was lying on the ground. He raised his head again. Because the Yunlan sect's elder, Yun Suo, was also surrounded by a black aura. He walked step by step toward Xiao Yan. You can actually defeat Nalan Yenran? You do have some ability. Yun Suo coldly stared at Xiao Yan. A cold smile appeared on his face. However, after stepping into the Yunlan sect today, you will never be able to leave. Great Elder, what is going on? At this moment, the shocked Gu Yi and Elder Yunlin stood up in shock. They saw Nalan Yenran, who was lying on the ground, still emitting a black aura. They saw Elder Yun Suo, who was also emitting a black aura. Then, they saw a large group of sect disciples who were also emitting a black aura. Gu Yi and Yunlin were stunned. Was this still the Yunlan sect? Why was everything in front of them so unfamiliar? You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.